Abraham Saga, Knowledge Arc, Chapter 17, Prophecy. In the 39th Jubilee, during the second week in the first year, Terah took a wife for himself. Her name was Amthalo, also called Edna, the daughter of Cornebo, Abram, who was the daughter of Terah's father's sister. Terah's wife became pregnant and gave birth to a son during those days. Terah was 70 years old when his son was born, and he named him Abram. Abram had died before his daughter conceived a son. Terah gave him this name because the king had honored him in those days and had elevated him above all the other princes. On the night Abram was born, all of Terah's servants, along with the wise men and conjurers of Nimrod, came to Terah's house. They ate, drank, and celebrated with him that night. After the wise men and conjurers left Terah's house, they looked up at the sky. That night, they saw a large star rise from the east and move across the heavens. It swallowed up 4 stars from the 4 directions of the sky. All the king's wise men and conjurers were amazed at what they saw. The sages understood what it meant and said to each other,
"This can only be about the child born to Terah tonight. He will grow up, be fruitful, multiply, and take possession of the whole earth. He and his descendants forever. He and his offspring will defeat great kings and inherit their lands."
The wise men and conjurers returned to their homes that night. The next morning they all rose early and gathered at a designated meeting place. They said to each other,
"The vision we saw last night is still hidden from the king. He hasn't been told about it. But if this comes to light in the future, he'll say to us, 'Why did you keep this from me?' And we'll all be put to death. So let's go now and tell the king what we saw and what it means. That way we'll be in the clear."
So they did as they planned. They all went to the king, bowed down to him, and said,
"May the king live. May the king live. We heard that Terah, son of Dahor, and prince of your host, had a son born to him. Last night we went to his house, ate and drank, and celebrated with him. As we left to go home for the night, we looked up at the sky and saw a large star rising from the east. It moved quickly and swallowed up 4 great stars from the 4 corners of the sky. Amazed. Your servants were amazed and deeply troubled by what we saw. Using our wisdom, we interpreted the vision and determined that it referred to the child born to Terah. He will grow up, become powerful, multiply greatly, and destroy all the kings of the earth. He and his descendants will rule over their lands forever. Now, our Lord and King, we have faithfully reported to you what we saw regarding this child. If it pleases the king, let his father be compensated for the child, and let the child be killed before he grows up and his power becomes a threat to us, lest we and our children perish because of him."
The king listened to their words, and they pleased him. He sent for Terah, who came before the king. The king said,
"I've been told that a son was born to you last night, and that a sign appeared in the heavens at his birth. Now give me the child so we can kill him before he becomes dangerous to us. I'll give you a house full of silver and gold in return."
Terah answered,
"My lord and king, I've heard your words, and your servant will do whatever the king desires. But first, let me tell you something that happened to me last night, and maybe your advice will help me decide how to respond to your request."
The king said.
"Speak."
Terah said,
"Last night, Aon, son of Mored, came to me and said, 'Give me that fine horse the king gave you, and I'll give you silver, gold, straw, and feed in return.' I replied, 'Let me speak to the king about it first, and I'll do whatever he advises.' Now, my lord and king, I've told you this story. What advice will you give your servant?"
When the king heard Terah's words, he became angry and thought him foolish. He said,
"Are you really that stupid, ignorant, or lacking in understanding that you would trade your beautiful horse for silver and gold, or even just for straw and feed? Are you so poor that you can't afford to feed the horse? What is silver and gold or straw and feed compared to such a magnificent horse? There's no other like it in the world.
Then the king stopped speaking, and Terah replied,
Your words are exactly what I hoped you'd say. So how can you ask me to give you my son to be killed in exchange for silver and gold? What would I do with that wealth after my son's death? Who would inherit it? Surely when I die, the silver and gold will go back to the king who gave it to me.
When the king heard Terah's words and the parable he used, he was deeply troubled and upset. His anger burned within him. Terah saw that the king's anger was rising, so he said,
Everything I have is in the king's hands. Whatever the king wishes to do to his servant, let him do, even with my son. He is in the king's power, as are his 2 older brothers. They have no price.
The king said,
No, I would pay for your younger son.
Terah replied,
Please, my lord and king, allow your servant to speak one more word and listen to what I say.
He continued,
Let the king give me 3 days to think this over and discuss it with my family. Then I will respond to the king's request.
and he pleaded strongly with the king until he agreed. The king agreed and gave Terah 3 days. Terah left the king's presence, went home, and told his family everything the king had said. Everyone was very afraid. On the 3rd day, the king sent word to Terah, saying,
Send me your son for payment, just as I said. If you don't, I will destroy everything in your house, and not even a dog will be left alive.
Because of the urgency of the king's command, Terah acted quickly. He took the newborn son of one of his servants, a child born that very day to the servant's handmaid, and brought the child to the king, receiving payment for him. The Lord was with Terah in this matter so that Nimrod wouldn't kill Abram. The king took the child from Terah and, believing it was Abram, smashed his head against the ground with all his strength. But it was hidden from him that the child was not Abram, and he forgot about it from that day on. This was by divine design, so that Abram's life would be spared. Meanwhile, Terah secretly took his son Abram, along with Abram's mother and nurse, and hid them in a cave. He brought them supplies once a month. The Lord was with Abram while he was in the cave, and he grew up there. Abram remained hidden in the cave for 10 years, and the king, his princes, soothsayers, and sages all believed that the king had killed him. Abraham Saga, Knowledge Arc, Chapter 18, Skeptical. Haran, the son of Terah and Abram's oldest brother, took a wife in the 3rd year of the 3rd week. He was 39 years old when he married her. She conceived again and gave birth to a daughter and named her Milcah. She conceived once more and had another daughter, naming her Sarai. Haran was 42 years old when Sarai was born, which happened in the 10th year of Abram's life. Around that time, Abram, along with his mother and nurse, came out of the cave, as the king and his people had forgotten the matter of Abram. After leaving the cave, Abram went to Noah and his son Shem, staying with them to learn the ways and teachings of the Lord. No one knew where Abram was, and he served Noah and Shem for many years. As Abram grew, he began to understand the errors of the world, how people had gone astray, following carved idols and acts of impurity. His father taught him how to write, and when Abram was 14 years old, he separated himself from his father so that he wouldn't join in idol worship. He began praying to the Creator of all things, asking to be saved from the corrupt ways of humankind and to be kept from falling into uncleanness and wickedness. When the time came for planting, everyone went out together to guard their seed from the ravens, and Abram joined them. He was 14 years old. A cloud of ravens came to eat the seed, but Abram ran out ahead of them before they could land and called out,
Don't come down, return to the place you came from.
and the ravens turned back. That day, he drove the ravens away 70 times. Not a single raven landed in the entire region where Abram was. Everyone present saw him cry out, and all the ravens turned back. His name became well known throughout the land of the Chaldees. That year, everyone who wanted to sow came to him, and he went with them until the planting season was over. They planted their fields, harvested plenty of grain, ate, and were satisfied. In the 7th year of that week, Haran's wife gave birth to a son, and he named him Lot. In the 1st year of the 5th week, Abram taught the makers of oxen tools, those who worked with wood. They built a structure above the ground that attached to the front of the plow, where the seed would be placed. The seed would then drop from the plowshare and be covered by the soil, hidden from the birds. From then on, they weren't afraid of the ravens anymore. They made these seed containers on all their plows and followed Abram's instructions to sow and work the land. And because of that, they no longer feared the birds. In the 6th week, during the 7th year, Abram said to his father Terah,
Father,
and Terah replied,
Here I am, my son.
Abram said,
what benefit or profit do we get from these idols that you worship and bow down to? They have no spirit in them. They're just lifeless shapes and led people's hearts astray. Don't worship them. Worship the God of heaven, who sends rain and dew upon the earth, who does everything on the earth, who created all things by his word, and from whose presence all life comes. Why would you worship things that have no spirit? They are made by human hands. You carry them on your shoulders, but they can't help you. They only bring shame to those who make them and deceive those who worship them. Do not worship them.
His father answered,
I know this too, my son. But what can I do with the people who've made me serve these idols? If I tell them the truth, they'll kill me. They're so attached to them. They insist on worshipping and honoring them. Keep quiet, my son, or they may kill you too.
Abram also spoke these words to his 2 brothers, but they were angry with him, so he stayed silent. During those days, all the people of the earth sinned greatly against the Lord. They rebelled against him and served other gods, forgetting the Lord who had created them. Everyone made their own god, idols of wood and stone that couldn't speak, hear, or help them. People served these idols, and they became their gods. The king and all his officials, along with Terah and his entire household, were among the first to serve these wooden and stone gods. Terah had 12 large idols made of wood and stone, representing the 12 months of the year. Each month, he served a different one, bringing meat and drink offerings to his gods. This is what Terah did all his life. That whole generation was wicked in the Lord's eyes. Every person made his own god and abandoned the Lord who had created them. In all the earth, no one was found who knew the Lord, except Noah and his household. Everyone under Noah's guidance still knew the Lord in those days. Meanwhile, Abram, the son of Terah, grew strong in Noah's house, and no one knew it. The Lord was with him. God gave Abram a wise and understanding heart, and he realized that everything his generation did was meaningless, and that all their gods were worthless and powerless. One day, Abram saw the sun shining on the earth and thought to himself,
Surely this sun that shines on the earth must be God, and I will worship him.
So that day, Abram worshipped the sun and prayed to it. But when evening came and the sun set as usual, Abram said to himself,
Surely this can't be God.
He continued questioning,
Who is the one who made the heavens and the earth? Who created all things on the earth? Where is he?
As night fell, Abram looked west, north, south, and east, and saw that the sun had disappeared and darkness had taken over. Then he saw the stars and the moon, and said,
Surely this is the God who created the whole earth and mankind, and these must be his servants around him.
That night, Abram worshipped the moon and prayed to it. But in the morning, when daylight came and the sun rose again, Abram saw all the things that the Lord God had made on the earth. Then Abram said to himself,
Surely these are not gods that created the earth and all mankind. These must be the servants of God.
From that time on, Abram stayed in Noah's house, came to know the Lord and his ways, and served him for the rest of his life. But that whole generation forgot the Lord, served other gods made of wood and stone, and continued in rebellion all their days. Abraham Saga, Knowledge Ark, Chapter 19, Fire. Nimrod, the son of Cush, was still living in the land of Shinar, where he ruled and settled. He built cities in Shinar, and these are the names of the 4 cities he built, naming them based on the events that happened during the construction of the tower. He named the first city Babel, saying,
Because the Lord there confused the language of the whole earth.
The second he named Erech, because
From there God scattered them.
the third he called Echid, saying,
There was a great battle at that place.
and the fourth he named Calneh, because
His princes and mighty men were destroyed there.
these people provoked the Lord. They rebelled and sinned against him. Once Nimrod had built these cities in the land of Shinar, he settled the rest of his people there, including his remaining princes and warriors. Nimrod lived in Babel and renewed his rule over the rest of his subjects. He ruled with confidence, and his subjects and princes gave him the name Amraphel, saying that at the tower his princes and men had fallen because of him. But despite all this, Nimrod did not turn back to the Lord. He kept on doing evil and teaching others to do evil. His son Mardon was even worse than he was and continued adding to the wickedness of his father. He led others into sin and so it was said,
From the wicked goes forth wickedness.
Around that time, war broke out between the families of the children of Ham, who were living in the cities they had built. Chedorlaomer, king of Elam, broke away from the families of Ham, fought against them, and defeated them. Then he went to the 5 cities of the plain, fought against them, and conquered them as well. They came under his control and served him for 12 years, paying him a yearly tax. Peleg lived 209 years after he fathered Reu, and he had other sons and daughters. Peleg, the son of Eber, died in those days, during the 48th year of Abram son of Terah's life. Peleg lived a total of 239 years. Nahor lived 119 years after he fathered Terah, and he also had other sons and daughters. At that time, Nahor son of Serug died, during the 49th year of Abram son of Terah's life. Abram lived in Noah's house for 39 years. He came to know the Lord when he was 3 years old, and he followed the ways of the Lord for the rest of his life, just as Noah and Shem had taught him. In the 50th year of Abram son of Terah's life, he left Noah's house and returned to his father's house. Abram knew the Lord and followed his ways and instructions, and the Lord his God was with him. At that time, Terah, his father, was still captain of King Nimrod's army and continued to worship strange gods. When Abram arrived at his father's house, he saw 12 gods standing in their temples. He became furious when he saw these idols in his father's home. Abram said,
As the Lord lives, these images will not remain in my father's house. May the Lord who created me do so to me, if I do not destroy them all within 3 days.
He left them, burning with anger, and hurried from the chamber into the outer court of his father's house. There he found his father sitting with his servants, and Abram sat down before him. He asked,
Father, tell me, where is the God who created heaven and earth, and all the people on earth, including you and me?
Terah replied,
Look, those who created us are all here in the house.
Abram said,
My lords, please show them to me.
So Terah took Abram into the inner chamber, and Abram saw that the room was full of gods made of wood and stone, 12 large statues and countless smaller ones. Terah said,
These are the ones who made everything you see on earth, and who created me and you and all of mankind.
Then Terah bowed to his gods and left, and Abram went with him. Afterward, Abram went to his mother and sat with her. He said,
Look, my father has shown me the gods who supposedly made heaven and earth and all people. So now, please go and bring a young goat from the flock and prepare some tasty food, and I'll offer it to my father's gods so they can eat. Maybe then I'll be acceptable to them.
His mother did as he asked. She brought a kid, prepared a delicious meal, and gave it to Abram. He took it and brought it before his father's gods. He placed it before them so they could eat, but Terah didn't know about it. Abram sat there that day and saw that the idols had no voice, couldn't hear, didn't move, and not one of them could stretch out a hand to eat. Abram mocked them and said,
I guess the food I made didn't please them, or maybe it wasn't enough so they wouldn't eat. Tomorrow I'll make a better, bigger meal to see what happens.
The next day, Abram asked his mother again for food, and she brought 3 fine young goats and prepared them into a delicious meal that Abram liked. She gave it to him, and again, Terah didn't know. Abram brought the food to the idols, placed it in front of them, and sat there all day hoping they might eat. But he saw they had no voice or hearing, and not one of them reached for the food. That evening the Spirit of God came upon Abram, and he cried out,
Woe to my father and this wicked generation! Their hearts are filled with vanity, serving idols of wood and stone that can't eat, smell, hear, or speak. They have mouths but can't speak, eyes but can't see, ears but can't hear, hands without feeling, and legs that can't move. Those who made them and trust in them are just like them.
When Abram saw all this, he became enraged. He grabbed a hatchet, went into the idol chamber, and smashed all his father's gods. After destroying them, he put the hatchet in the hand of the largest idol and left. Terah, hearing the sound of the hatchet from outside, came home to see what had happened. As he entered the idol chamber, he found all the idols broken and lying on the ground, with the hatchet in the hand of the largest one. The food Abram had prepared was still there. Terah became furious, rushed out of the room, and found Abram sitting in the house. He asked,
"What have you done to my gods?"
Abram replied,
"No, my lord. I brought them food, and as I got close, they all stretched out their hands to eat before the big one had even moved. The large one became angry at what they did, grabbed the hatchet from the house, and smashed them all. Look, the hatchet is still in his hand, as you see."
Terah's anger flared against Abram. He said,
"What is this nonsense? You're lying. Do these gods have a spirit, soul, or strength to do what you said? Aren't they just wood and stone? I made them myself. How can you lie and say the large one destroyed the others? You put the hatchet in his hand yourself, and then blamed him."
Abram answered,
"Then how can you serve these idols that can't do anything? Can they hear your prayers when you call to them? Can they save you from your enemies or fight for you? Why would you serve wood and stone that can't speak or hear? This is not good for you or anyone connected to you. Are you so foolish or lacking understanding that you serve these things and forget the Lord God who made heaven and earth, who created you? You're bringing evil on your soul by doing this. Didn't our ancestors sin in the same way, and the Lord God of the universe brought the flood to destroy them and the entire earth? And now you continue doing the same thing, serving idols that can't save or deliver, and you're inviting God's wrath again. Please, Father, stop this and don't bring harm to yourself or your household."
Then Abram quickly took the hatchet from the hand of the large idol he had placed it in and ran away. Terah, seeing what Abram had done, hurried from his house and went to the king. He stood before Nimrod and bowed. The king asked,
What do you want?
Terah said,
"Please, my lord, hear me. 50 years ago a child was born to me. This is what he's done to my gods and what he said. Now, my lord and king, send for him so he can appear before you and be judged according to the law, so we may be free of his wrongdoing."
So the king sent 3 of his servants, who went and brought Abram before the king. That day, Nimrod, all his princes, and his servants were sitting before him, and Terah was there too. The king said to Abram,
What have you done to your father and his God?
Abram answered just as he had spoken to his father. He said,
"The large god in the house did what you've heard."
The king asked,
Do they have the power to speak, eat, and do what you said?
Abram answered,
If they have no power, then why do you serve them and lead others astray with this foolishness? Do you think they can save you or do anything at all? Why won't you serve the God of the universe, who created you and has the power to give life and take it away? You foolish, simple, and ignorant king, woe to you forever. I thought you would teach your servants the right path, but instead you filled the whole earth with sin, along with your people who follow you. Don't you know, or haven't you heard, that our ancestors sinned the same way long ago, and the eternal God brought a flood and wiped them out, along with the entire earth? And now you and your people want to do the same evil, to bring down the anger of the Lord God of the universe. If you don't stop, you will bring disaster on yourselves and the whole earth. So turn from this evil and serve the God of the universe, because your life is in his hands. Then things will go well for you. But if your wicked heart refuses to listen and turn from your evil ways to serve the eternal God, then you will die in disgrace in the end, you, your people, and all who follow your words or walk in your ways.
When Abram finished speaking before the king and his princes, he lifted his eyes to heaven and said,
The Lord sees all the wicked, and he will judge them.
When the king heard what Abram had said, he ordered him to be thrown into prison. Abram remained in prison for 10 days. At the end of that time, the king summoned all the other kings, princes, governors of the various provinces, and wise men to appear before him. They gathered together, and Abram was still being held in confinement. The king addressed the assembled officials and wise men, saying,
Have you heard what Abram, the son of Terah, did to his father? This is how he treated him. I had him brought before me, and this is what he said. He didn't hesitate or show fear in my presence, and now he's locked up in prison. So tell me, what judgment does this man deserve for defying the king, for speaking and doing everything you've heard?
They all answered the king, saying,
A man who insults the king should be hanged on a tree. But since he's done everything he said, and because he's disrespected our gods, he must be burned to death. That's the law in this case. If it pleases the king, let him order his servants to keep a fire burning in the brick furnace both day and night, and then we'll throw this man into it.
The king agreed and commanded his servants to prepare a fire in the furnace at Kasdim to burn for 3 days and 3 nights. He also ordered them to take Abram from prison and bring him out to be burned. All of the king's servants, along with the princes, lords, governors, judges, and the people of the land, about 900,000 men, gathered in front of the furnace to see what would happen to Abram. Women and children crowded onto rooftops and towers to watch as well. Everyone stood at a distance, and there wasn't a single person who didn't come to witness the event. When Abram arrived, the king's conjurers and sages saw him and cried out to the king, saying,
Our Lord and King, this is the same man who, when he was born, caused that great star to swallow up 4 other stars, just like we told you 50 years ago. And now, his father has broken your commands too, mocking you by bringing you another child whom you ended up killing.
When the king heard this, he became extremely angry and ordered Terah to be brought before him. The king said to Terah,
Have you heard what the conjurers said? Now tell me the truth. If you speak honestly, you'll be spared.
Seeing how furious the king was, Terah said,
My lord and king, you've heard the truth. What the sages said is correct.
The king replied,
How could you do this? You disobeyed my command and gave me a child that wasn't your own, and you even accepted payment for him.
Terah answered,
I was moved by love for my son at that time. So I took the son of my handmaid and brought him to you instead.
The king asked,
Who advised you to do this? Tell me everything. Don't hide anything, and you won't die.
Terah was terrified in the king's presence and said,
It was Haran, my eldest son, who advised me to do it. Haran was 32 years old at the time Abram was born.
But Haran hadn't advised his father at all. Terah only said this to try to save himself, because he was afraid. Then the king said,
Haran, your son, who supposedly advised you, will die in the fire along with Abram. He deserves death for going against my will in this matter.
At that time, Haran was leaning toward following Abram's ways, but he kept it to himself. Haran thought to himself,
Now the king has arrested Abram because of what he did. If Abram survives, I'll follow him. But if the king wins, I'll follow the king.
After Terah said this about Haran, the king ordered Haran to be seized along with Abram. Both were brought to be thrown into the fire. Everyone in the land came to watch. The king's servants, princes, women, and children all stood by to witness it. The king's servants took Abram and Haran, stripped them of everything except their undergarments, and tied their hands and feet with linen cords. Then they lifted them and threw them into the furnace. But the Lord loved Abram and had compassion for him. He came down and rescued Abram from the fire. Abram was not burned. Only the cords that bound him were burned, and Abram walked freely inside the flames. But Haran died as soon as he was thrown into the fire. He was burned to ashes because his heart wasn't fully devoted to the Lord. And as for the men who threw them into the fire, the flames spread out and burned them. 12 of them died. Abram walked in the fire for 3 days and 3 nights. The king's servants saw him walking around in the flames and reported it to the king, saying,
We saw Abram walking in the fire, and even his undergarments aren't burned. Only the cords that bound him are gone.
When the king heard this, he was overwhelmed and didn't believe them. So he sent other trusted princes to see for themselves. They went, saw Abram walking in the flames, and returned to tell the king. The king then got up to go see it himself. He saw Abram walking back and forth in the fire, and Haran's body burned up. The king was amazed. He ordered that Abram be taken out of the fire, but his servants couldn't get close. The flames surrounded the furnace and reached up toward them. The servants fled from the fire, and the king scolded them.
Hurry and get Abram out of the fire, or you'll die!
The servants tried again, but the flames struck them and burned their faces. 8 of them died. When the king saw that no one could approach the fire without being burned, he called out to Abram,
O servant of the God who is in heaven, come out of the fire and stand before me.
Abram obeyed the king's voice, came out of the fire, and stood before him. Everyone saw Abram approaching the king with his undergarments still intact. The fire had not touched them, only the cords had burned away. The king asked Abram,
How is it that you weren't burned in the fire?
Abram replied,
The God of heaven and earth, in whom I trust and who holds all power, is the one who delivered me from the fire you threw me into.
Haran, Abram's brother, was burned to ashes. They searched for his body but found only remains. Haran was 82 years old when he died in the fire of Kasdim. After seeing that Abram had been delivered from the fire, the king, princes, and all the people of the land came and bowed down to him. But Abram said,
Do not bow down to me. Bow to the God of the world who made you. Serve him and follow his ways. He is the one who saved me from this fire. He created the souls and spirits of all people, formed man in the womb, and brought him into the world. He will rescue all who trust in him from suffering.
This miracle greatly amazed the king and the princes, that Abram was saved while Haran was burned. The king gave Abram many gifts, including 2 of his top servants from the palace. One was named Oni, and the other was Eliezer. All the kings, princes, and servants gave Abram many gifts of silver, gold, and pearls. Then the king and his officials sent Abram away in peace. Abram left the king in peace, and many of the king's servants followed him. About 300 men joined him. That same day, Abram returned to his father's house with the men who followed him. Abram served the Lord his God all his life. He walked in God's ways and kept his laws. From that day on, Abram influenced many people to turn their hearts toward serving the Lord. In the 40th Jubilee, during the 2nd week and the 7th year, Abram and Nahor each took a wife. Abram's wife was named Sarai, and Nahor's wife was Milcah, the daughter of Haran, who was the father of both Milcah and Iscah. But Sarai was barren. She had no children. 2 years after Abram had come out of the fire, when he was 52 years old, King Nimrod was sitting on his throne in Babel. While there, the king fell asleep and had a dream. In his dream, he stood with his troops in a valley near the king's furnace. He looked up and saw a man who looked like Abram coming out of the furnace. The man approached the king with a drawn sword, then lunged at him. The king ran away in fear. As he fled, the man threw an egg at the king's head, and the egg turned into a huge river. In the dream, all the king's soldiers drowned in that river. The king managed to escape with 3 men who were with him. These 3 looked like royalty, dressed in princely robes and carrying the presents of kings. As they kept running, the river turned back into an egg, and from that egg came a young bird. The bird flew up to the king and plucked out his eye. The king was deeply disturbed by what he saw and woke up in fear, his spirit shaken and terrified. The next morning the king rose from his bed in fear and summoned all his wise men and magicians. He told them the dream. Then a wise servant named Enoch answered the king and said,
This can only mean harm from Abram and his descendants, who will rise up against my lord and king in the future. A time will come when Abram, his family, and all his household will go to war against the king. They will defeat all your troops. The 3 men you saw escaping represent the only survivors, just you and 3 other kings from among all those who go to battle with you. And as for the river that became an egg again, and the bird that took your eye, this means Abram's descendants will one day kill the king. That's the meaning of the dream, and my interpretation is correct. The dream is true, and your servant has spoken the truth. So now, my king, you know that it has been 52 years since your sages predicted all this at Abram's birth. If you allow Abram to live, it will bring harm to you, because as long as Abram lives, neither you nor your kingdom will be secure. This was known since his birth. Why not kill him now and prevent the harm he will bring in the future?
Nimrod listened to Enoch's words and secretly sent servants to seize Abram and bring him to the king to be put to death. At that time, Eliezer, Abram's servant, whom the king had given him, was present and heard everything Enoch said and what the king had planned. Eliezer went straight to Abram and said,
Hurry, get up, and save your life so you won't die by the king's hand. He had a dream about you, and this is how Anuki interpreted it and advised the king.
Abram listened to Eliezer and quickly ran for safety. He went to the house of Noah and his son Shem, where he hid and found refuge. Meanwhile, the king's servants came to Abram's house to look for him but couldn't find him. They searched the whole country, but he was nowhere to be found. They looked in every direction, but still didn't find him. So they returned to the king. Since they couldn't find Abram, the king's anger calmed, and he put the matter out of his mind. Abram remained hidden in Noah's house for 1 month, until the king had forgotten all about it. But Abram still feared the king. Then Terah came secretly to visit his son Abram at Noah's house. Terah was still highly regarded by the king. Abram said to his father,
Don't you realize that the king wants to kill me and erase my name from the earth because of what his wicked advisors told him? What do you really have here in this land? Come with me to the land of Canaan so we can escape from his hand. Otherwise you might also be destroyed in the future. Don't you see that Nimrod doesn't honor you out of love? Everything he gives you is for his own benefit. Even if he gives you more than this, it's all worthless. Wealth and riches can't help you when judgment comes. So listen to me. Let's go to the land of Canaan, where we'll be safe from Nimrod's harm. Serve the Lord who made you, and things will go well for you. Let go of all these empty things you're chasing.
When Abram finished speaking, Noah and Shem said to Terah,
Everything Abram told you is true.
Terah listened to Abram and did everything his son said, because this was the Lord's plan so that the king would not be able to kill Abram. In the 60th year of Abram's life, during the 4th week and the 4th year, Abram got up during the night and set fire to the house of idols. He burned everything inside, and no one knew who did it. During the night, people rushed to save their gods from the flames, and Haran rushed to save them, but the fire flamed over him, and he was burned in the fire. He died in Ur of the Chaldees before Terah his father, and they buried him in Ur of the Chaldees. Abraham Saga, Moving Ark, Chapter 20, Separation. Terah took his son Abram, his grandson Lot, the son of Haran, and Sarai, his daughter-in-law and the wife of Abram, along with everyone in his household, and they set out from Ur of the Chaldeans to go to the land of Canaan. But when they reached the land of Haran, they settled there, because it was an excellent land for grazing and spacious enough for all who were with them. The people of Haran noticed that Abram was good and upright in the eyes of both God and men, and that the Lord his God was with him. Some of the people of Haran joined Abram, and he taught them the ways and instructions of the Lord. These men stayed with Abram in his household and remained devoted to him. And the people of the land of Haran saw that Abram was good and upright with God and men, and that the Lord his God was with him. And some of the people of the land of Haran came and joined Abram, and he taught them the instruction of the Lord and his ways. And these men remained with Abram in his house, and they adhered to him. In the 6th week, during the 5th year, on the new moon of the 7th month, Abram stayed awake through the entire night to observe the stars from evening until morning, to understand what the year would be like in terms of rainfall. He was alone as he watched. A thought came into his heart, and he said,
All the signs in the stars, the moon, and the sun are in the Lord's hands. Why am I trying to figure them out? If he wants it to rain, he makes it rain, in the morning and evening. If he doesn't want it to rain, he withholds it. Everything is in his hands.
That night he prayed and said,
My God, God Most High, you alone are my God. I've chosen you and your rule. You created all things, and everything is a work of your hands. Save me from evil spirits who control the thoughts of people's hearts, and don't let them lead me away from you, my God. Keep me and my descendants faithful forever, so we never stray from you from now on and always.
Then he said,
Should I go back to Ur the Chaldeans? They're looking for me to return. Or should I stay here? Make the right path succeed for your servant so you can walk it, and so I don't follow the deceit in my own heart. Oh my God.
Abram stayed in that land for 3 years. After those 3 years, the Lord appeared to him and said,
I am the Lord who brought you out of Ur of the Chaldeans and saved you from all your enemies. Now, if you will listen to my voice and follow my commandments, statutes, and laws, I will cause your enemies to fall before you. I will multiply your descendants like the stars in the sky. I will bless everything you do, and you will lack nothing.
The Lord had said to Abram,
Leave your country, your relatives, and your father's house, and go to a land I will show you. I will make you into a great nation, bless you, make your name great, and you will be a blessing. I will bless those who bless you, and I will curse anyone who curses you. Through you, all the families of the earth will be blessed. I will be your God, and the God of your son, your grandson, and all your descendants. Don't be afraid. From now on, and for every generation of the earth, I am your God.
The Lord God said,
Open his mouth and his ears, so he can hear and speak with his mouth in the language that has been revealed.
This language had disappeared from all human speech ever since the fall of Babel. So I opened his mouth, ears, and lips, and I began to speak with him in Hebrew, the language of creation. He took the books of his ancestors, which were written in Hebrew, and he copied them. From then on, he began to study them, and I revealed to him the parts he couldn't understand. He studied them during the 6 months of rain. In the 7th year of the 6th week, Abram spoke to his father and told him that he was going to leave Haran and travel to the land of Canaan to see it and return. Terah said to him,
Go in peace. May the eternal God make your path straight. May the Lord be with you, protect you from all evil, and give you grace, mercy, and favor in the eyes of those who see you. May no one have the power to hurt you. Go in peace. And if you find a land that pleases you, and you want to live there, then bring me to you, and take Lot, the son of your brother Haran, with you as your own son. The Lord be with you. Leave your brother Nahor with me until you come back safely, and then we will all go with you together.
Abram got up and took his wife and everything he owned, and he went to the land of Canaan just as the Lord had told him. He was 50 years old when he left Haran. When he arrived in Canaan, he settled in the middle of the land and set up his tent among the Canaanites who lived there. The Lord appeared to Abram when he entered the land and said,
This is the land I am giving to you and your descendants forever. I will make your descendants as countless as the stars in the sky. I will give all this land you see to your descendants as their inheritance.
Abram built an altar at the place where God had spoken to him, and there he called on the name of the Lord. Abraham Saga, Moving Ark, Chapter 21, Obedience. At the end of the 3rd year of Abram living in the land of Canaan, in the 58th year of Abram's life, Noah died. He had lived 350 years after the flood, and all the days of his life totaled 950 years. He passed away and was buried on Mount Lubar in the land of Ararat. During his life on earth, Noah was more righteous than any other person, except Enoch. Enoch's role had been appointed as a witness to all future generations, to recount the deeds of every generation until the day of judgment. Abram lived in the land of Canaan with his wife, everyone belonging to him, those who had accompanied him, and those who had joined him from among the people of the land. Meanwhile, Nahor, Abram's brother, Terah, his father, and Lot, the son of Haran, along with all their possessions, stayed in Haran. In the 5th year of Abram's time in the land of Canaan, the people of Sodom, Gomorrah, and all the cities of the plain rebelled against Chedorlaomer, king of Elam. These cities had served him for 12 years and paid him a yearly tax, but in the 13th year they revolted. In the 10th year of Abram's stay in Canaan, a war broke out between Nimrod, king of Shinar, and Chedorlaomer, king of Elam. Nimrod went to battle to bring Chedorlaomer back under his rule, as Chedorlaomer had once been a prince in Nimrod's army. When the people were scattered at the Tower of Babel, Chedorlaomer left, went to Elam, took control, and rebelled against Nimrod. When Nimrod saw that the cities of the plain had also rebelled, he reacted with pride and anger and prepared for war against Chedorlaomer. He gathered around 700,000 men, including his princes and subjects, and marched to confront Chedorlaomer, who came out to meet him with 5,000 men. They faced off for battle in the valley of Babel, between Elam and Shinar. The kings fought, but Chedorlaomer's forces defeated Nimrod's. Around 600,000 of Nimrod's men were killed, including Mardon, the king's son. Nimrod fled in shame and returned to his land, where he remained under Chedorlaomer's rule for a long time. Chedorlaomer went back to his own land and sent leaders of his army to the nearby kings, Arioch, king of Elasar, and Tidal, king of Goyim. He made a covenant with them, and they submitted to his authority. In the 15th year of Abram's time in Canaan, which was his 70th year, the Lord appeared to him and said,
I am the Lord who brought you out of Ur-Kasdim to give you this land as an inheritance. Now walk before me and be perfect, and keep my commands, for I will give this land to you and your descendants, from the river of Egypt to the great river Euphrates. You will join your fathers in peace at a good old age, and in the 4th generation your descendants will return here to inherit it forever.
Abram built an altar, called on the name of the Lord who had appeared to him, and offered sacrifices there. After that, Abram returned to Haran to visit his father, mother, and the rest of his father's household. He, his wife, and all that belonged to him stayed in Haran for 5 years. During that time, about 72 men from Haran followed Abram, and he taught them the instruction and ways of the Lord, helping them to know him. In those days, the Lord appeared to Abram in Haran and said,
Look, I told you 20 years ago, leave your land, your birthplace, and your father's house, and go to the land I showed you. I will bless you there, make you into a great nation, and make your name great. Through you, the families of the earth will be blessed. So now, get up, leave this place, you, your wife, and everyone who belongs to you, including everyone born in your house and all the souls you've gathered in Haran, and go back to the land of Canaan.
So Abram got up and took his wife Sarai, everything he owned, and everyone who had been born in his house, along with all the people they had gathered in Haran. They set out together to return to the land of Canaan. Abram left just as the Lord had commanded him, and Lot went with him. Abram was 75 years old when he departed from Haran. He took Sarai his wife, Lot his brother's son, all their possessions, and all the people they had gathered in Haran. They headed for the land of Canaan, and arrived there. Abram traveled through the land to the place of Shechem, to the plain of Moreh, and pitched his tent near a tall oak tree. He looked around and saw that the land was beautiful, stretching from the entrance of Hamath to the great oak. The Canaanites were living in the land at that time. The Lord appeared to Abram again and said,
I will give this land to your descendants.
So Abram built an altar there to the Lord who had appeared to him. That altar still remained in the plains of Mamre, and Abram offered a burnt sacrifice to the Lord on it. From there, Abram moved to a mountain east of Bethel and pitched his tent, with Bethel on the west and Hai on the east. He looked around and saw that the land was wide and fertile. Everything grew there: vines, figs, pomegranates, oaks, holm oaks, terebinths, olive trees, cedars, cypresses, date palms, and every kind of field tree. There was also water in the mountains. He blessed the Lord who had led him out of Ur of the Chaldees and brought him to this land. In the 1st year of the 7th week, on the new moon of the 1st month, Abram built an altar on that mountain and called on the name of the Lord.
You, the eternal God, are my God.
He offered a burnt sacrifice on the altar to the Lord, asking that he would be with him and never leave him for the rest of his life. Abram then moved further south and came to Hebron, which had already been built by that time. He lived there for 2 years. Abraham Saga, Pharaoh Ark, Chapter 22, Rikayon. During that time in the land of Shinar, there was a wise man who understood all kinds of wisdom and was also very handsome, but he was poor and struggling to survive. His name was Rikayon, and he found it very difficult to support himself. He decided to travel to Egypt, to Osiris, the son of Enoch, king of Egypt, hoping to demonstrate his wisdom to the king. Maybe he would find favor and receive support. So Rikayon went to Egypt. When he arrived, he asked the locals about the king. They explained the custom in Egypt. The king only left his royal palace and appeared in public one day each year. On that day, he would judge cases in the land, and everyone with a legal matter would come before him to present their requests. When Rikayon heard this and realized he wouldn't be able to meet the king, he was deeply upset and very discouraged. That evening, Rikayon found an old, ruined house, which had once been a bakehouse, and spent the night there, full of sorrow and hunger, unable to sleep. He thought hard about what he could do in the city until the king appeared, and how he might sustain himself. The next morning, he walked around the city and came across people selling vegetables and different types of seeds to the local residents. Rikayon wanted to try doing the same to earn a living, but he didn't know the customs of the people and felt like a blind man among them. He went and got some vegetables to sell, hoping to make a living, but a mob gathered around him, mocked him, stole his vegetables, and left him with nothing. Heartbroken, he left and returned to the ruined bakehouse where he had stayed the night before, and he spent a second night there. Again that night, he tried to figure out a way to avoid starving and came up with a plan for what to do. The next morning, he cleverly carried out his idea. He hired 30 strong men from the local rabble, each armed with weapons, and took them to the top of the Egyptian burial place. There he gave them orders.
This is what the king says. Be strong and brave men. No one is to be buried here unless 200 pieces of silver are paid. Only then may a body be buried.
The men did exactly as Rikayon commanded for the rest of that year. Over the course of 8 months, Rikayon and his men accumulated a huge amount of silver and gold. Rikayon also acquired many horses and other animals, hired more men, gave them horses, and they stayed with him. When the year came full circle and the time arrived for the king to make his annual public appearance, all the people of Egypt gathered to speak with him about what Rikayon and his men were doing. On the appointed day, the king went out, and all the Egyptians approached him, crying out,
May the king live forever. What is this you've allowed to happen to your people? That no one can bury their dead unless a large sum of silver and gold is paid. Has anything like this ever been done before, since the days of the early kings, or even since the time of Adam? It's normal for kings to tax the living once a year, but you're now taking a tax from the dead every single day. We can't take this anymore. This whole city is being ruined because of it. Aren't you aware?
When the king heard everything they said, he was furious. His anger burned over the matter because he hadn't known anything about it. He said,
Who is this person who dares to do such an evil thing in my land without my permission? You will tell me at once.
They told him everything Rikayon and his men had done. The king became even angrier and ordered that Rikayon and his men be brought to him. Rikayon then gathered around 1,000 children, both boys and girls, dressed them in silk and fine embroidery, and placed them on horses. He sent them to the king along with some of his men. He also prepared a great gift of silver, gold, precious stones, and a powerful and beautiful horse, and brought it with him to present to the king. Rikayon then bowed to the ground before the king. The king, his officials, and all the people of Egypt were amazed at what Rikayon had done. When they saw his wealth and the gifts he brought for the king, they were very impressed. The king was pleased, and when Rikayon sat down before him, the king asked him to explain everything he had done. Rikayon spoke wisely to the king, his servants, and all the people of Egypt. When the king heard Rikayon's explanation and saw his wisdom, Rikayon gained favor with him. The king's servants and all the people of Egypt also admired him greatly for his wise and thoughtful words, and from that moment they loved him deeply. The king said to Rikayon,
Your name will no longer be Rikayon. From now on, your name will be Pharaoh, because you've imposed a tax on the dead.
So the king renamed him Pharaoh. The king and his people continued to admire Rikayon for his wisdom. They consulted with all the inhabitants of Egypt and decided to make him prefect under the king. All the wise men and citizens of Egypt agreed, and this decision became law. Rikayon was made Pharaoh, the prefect under Osiris, king of Egypt. Rikayon ruled over Egypt, handling justice in the city every day. Osiris, however, only judged the people once a year when he made his public appearance. Rikayon Pharaoh skillfully took control of the government of Egypt and imposed taxes on all the inhabitants. The people of Egypt came to love Rikayon Pharaoh deeply, and they made a decree that every king who would rule over them and their descendants in Egypt would be called Pharaoh. That's why, from that time on, every king who reigned in Egypt was known by the title Pharaoh, even to this day. Abraham Saga, Pharaoh Ark, Chapter 23, Confrontation. Reu lived 207 years after he fathered Serug, and he had sons and daughters. In the 78th year of Abram's life, Reu, the son of Peleg, died. Reu lived a total of 239 years. Abram moved on toward the south and came to Hebron. Hebron had just been built at that time, and he lived there for 2 years. A famine struck the land of Canaan, and the people couldn't stay because of it. So Abram and everyone with him went down to Egypt, Beloth, to live there for a while, because the famine was severe. When they reached the brook Mitzrayim, they rested there for a while to recover from the journey. Abram went to Egypt in the 3rd year of the week, and stayed there for 4 years before his wife was taken from him. As they were approaching Egypt near the border of the brook Mitzrayim, Abram said to his wife Sarai,
Look, I know that you are a beautiful woman because God has made you that way. So when the Egyptians see you, they'll say, 'This is his wife.' And they'll kill me because they don't fear God, but they'll let you live. Say you're my sister, so that it will go well for me because of you, and I'll be spared because of you."
Abram gave the same instructions to everyone traveling with him into Egypt because of the famine. He even told his nephew Lot,
"If the Egyptians ask about Sarai, say she is the sister of Abraham."
Even with all those precautions, Abram still wasn't confident, so he hid Sarai in a chest and concealed it among their belongings, because he was very worried about her due to the Egyptians' wickedness. Abram and everyone with him left the brook Mitzrayim and entered Egypt. As soon as they came through the city gates, the guards confronted them, saying,
Pay tithe to the king from what you have, and then you can enter the city.
Abram and his group complied. When they arrived, they brought in the chest where Sarai was hidden. The Egyptians saw the chest and asked Abram,
"What's in this chest that we haven't seen before? Open it and give the king a tithe of whatever is inside."
Abram replied,
"I won't open the chest, but I'll pay whatever you demand."
Pharaoh's officers said,
It must be a chest of precious stones. Give us 1/10 of it.
Abram answered,
"Whatever you ask, I'll give. Just don't open the chest."
But the officers insisted. They forced the chest open and saw that inside was a beautiful woman. When the king's officers saw Sarai, they were amazed by her beauty. All of Pharaoh's princes and servants gathered to see her because she was very beautiful. The king's officers ran to tell Pharaoh about her, praising her beauty, and Pharaoh ordered her to be brought to him. Sarai came before the king. Pharaoh was deeply impressed with Sarai. He was struck by her beauty, rejoiced over her, and rewarded the messengers who brought her. Sarai was taken into Pharaoh's house. Meanwhile, Abram was distraught over his wife and prayed to the Lord to rescue her from Pharaoh's hands. Sarai also prayed at that time and said,
"O Lord God, you told my lord Abram to leave his land and his father's house and go to the land of Canaan, and you promised to bless him if he obeyed. We've done what you commanded, leaving our homeland and families and coming to a strange land among strangers. We came here because of the famine, and now this terrible thing has happened to me. So, Lord God, please save us from this oppressor and show mercy to me."
The Lord heard Sarai's prayer and sent an angel to deliver her from Pharaoh. The king came and sat before Sarai, and the angel of the Lord stood over them. He appeared to Sarai and said,
"Don't be afraid. The Lord has heard your prayer."
The king asked Sarai,
"Who is the man who brought you here?"
And she answered,
"He is my brother."
The king said,
"We must honor this man, elevate him, and do all the good you tell us to do for him."
Then Pharaoh sent Abram large amounts of silver, gold, and precious stones, along with cattle, sheep, horses, donkeys, camels, male and female servants. The king summoned Abram and brought him into the royal court. And that night, the king honored him greatly. Lot, his nephew, also became very wealthy. When Pharaoh approached Sarai and reached out to touch her, the angel struck him severely, and he pulled back in fear. Each time he came near her, the angel struck him again and again throughout the night. Pharaoh was terrified. That same night, the angel struck all of Pharaoh's servants and his entire household because of Sarai. There was great mourning in Pharaoh's house. Pharaoh realized the disasters were because of Sarai, so he kept his distance and spoke gently to her. Pharaoh asked Sarai,
"Tell me about the man who brought you here."
Sarai replied,
"He is my husband. I said he was my brother because I was afraid you might kill him in wickedness."
After that, Pharaoh stayed away from Sarai, and the angel of the Lord's plagues ceased from him and his household. Pharaoh understood he had been struck because of Sarai, and he was deeply amazed. In the morning, Pharaoh summoned Abram and said,
"What have you done to me, bringing this terrible plague on me and my household? Why didn't you tell me she was your wife? Why did you say she was your sister? I might have taken her as my wife. Now here is your wife. Take her and leave our land, or we'll all die because of her."
Pharaoh gave Abram more cattle, servants, and silver and gold, and returned Sarai to him. Pharaoh then ordered his men to escort them out of Egypt, Abram, Sarai, and everything they had. Pharaoh gave Sarai a young woman named Hagar, a daughter he had by his concubines, to be her handmaid. He said to his daughter,
It's better for you to be a servant in this man's house than to be a queen in mine, after seeing what happened to us because of this woman.
Abram traveled back to the place where he had first pitched his tent, to the place of the altar, with Ai to the east, and Bethel to the west. There he gave thanks to the Lord his God for bringing him back safely. Abraham Saga, Misguided Ark, Chapter 24, Captive. Abram left Egypt with his wife, all his belongings, and Lot, heading into the south. Pharaoh assigned some of his men to accompany him. Abram was extremely wealthy, owning many cattle, as well as large amounts of silver and gold. During the 41st Jubilee, in the 3rd year of the first week, Abram traveled from the south back to the land of Canaan. He returned to the place where his tent had originally stood, between Bethel and Hai, to the location of the altar he had built at the beginning. There, Abram offered a burnt sacrifice and called on the name of the Lord, saying,
"You, the Most High God, are my God forever and ever."
Lot, the son of Haran and Abram's nephew, had a large amount of livestock, flocks, herds, and tents. The Lord had blessed them because of Abram. But while Abram was living in the land, Lot's herdsmen got into conflicts with Abram's herdsmen because their possessions were too great to share the same land. It couldn't support both of their herds. Abram's herdsmen avoided grazing in the fields belonging to the people of the land, but Lot's herdsmen didn't do the same and allowed their cattle to graze there freely. The Canaanites and Perizzites who lived in the area noticed this happening every day and came to Abram to complain about the actions of Lot's herdsmen. Abram said to Lot,
Why are you doing this to me, making me look bad in the eyes of the people of this land by allowing your herdsmen to graze on fields that aren't ours? Don't you know I'm a foreigner here among the Canaanites? Why would you bring this on me?
Abram confronted Lot about this issue every day, but Lot refused to listen and continued doing the same thing. Eventually, the people of the land reported the matter to Abram. Abram said to Lot,
How long are you going to be a problem for me among the people of this land? I'm asking you, let's stop this fighting between us. We're family. Please separate from me. Choose a place to live with your herds and belongings, but keep your distance from me and my household. Don't be afraid to leave, because if anyone harms you, let me know and I'll defend you. But please, just go. If you take the left side, I'll go to the right. If you go to the right, I'll go to the left.
After Abram had finished speaking, Lot looked out and saw that the whole plain of the Jordan was well watered. This was before the Lord destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah. The land was like the garden of the Lord, similar to Egypt as you approach Zoar. So Lot chose the entire plain of the Jordan for himself and traveled east, settling in Sodom. The two of them separated. This happened in the 4th year of that week. Abram was deeply saddened that his nephew had left him, especially because he had no children of his own. Abram stayed in the land of Canaan, while Lot lived in the cities of the plain and set up his tent near Sodom. But the men of Sodom were extremely wicked and great sinners against the Lord. After Lot had parted from him, the Lord said to Abram,
Lift up your eyes and look around you, north, south, east, and west. I'm giving all the land you see to you and your descendants forever. I will make your descendants as countless as the dust of the earth. If anyone could count the dust, they could count your offspring. Get up and walk through the land, its length and its width, because I am giving it to you.
Abram packed up his tent and moved to the plain of Mamre, which is in Hebron, and lived there for many years. He also built an altar to the Lord in that place. Around that time, Chedorlaomer, king of Elam, sent messages to the surrounding kings, including Nimrod, Amraphel, king of Shinar, who was under his authority, and to Tidal, king of Goyim, nations, and Arioch, king of Elasar. He made an alliance with them, saying,
Come and help me defeat all the towns of Sodom and their people, because they've rebelled against me for 13 years.
These 4 kings went out with their armies, about 800,000 men, and attacked everyone they encountered along the way. They made war against Bera, king of Sodom, Birsha, king of Gomorrah, Shinab, king of Admah, Shemeber, king of Zeboim, and the king of Bela, which is Zoar. These 5 kings had joined forces in the valley of Siddim, near the Salt Sea. They had served Chedorlaomer for 12 years, but in the 13th year they rebelled. In the 14th year, Chedorlaomer and the allied kings attacked again. They defeated the Rephaim in Ashtaroth Karnaim, the Zuzim in Ham, the Emim in Shaveh Kiriathaim, and the Horites in the hill country of Seir, all the way to El-Paran near the wilderness. Then they turned back and went to En-Mishpat, Kadesh, striking the entire region of the Amalekites, as well as the Amorites who lived in Hazazontamar. The 5 kings of Sodom, Gomorrah, Admah, Zeboim, and Zoar came out to confront them, and the 9 kings clashed in battle in the valley of Siddim. But the kings of Sodom and Gomorrah were defeated by the kings of Elam. The valley of Siddim near the Salt Sea was filled with tar pits. As the battle raged, the kings of Sodom and their troops fled and fell into the pits, while the rest escaped to the mountains. The 5 Elamite kings chased them all the way to the gates of Sodom and took everything that was in the city. They looted all the cities of Sodom, Gomorrah, Admah, and Zeboim. They also captured Lot, Abram's nephew, along with all his belongings. They took everything from Sodom and headed toward Dan. Enoch, Abram's servant, who lived in the plain of Mamre the Amorite, brother of Eshcol and Aner, had been in the battle and saw everything. He went and reported to Abram the Hebrew what the kings had done to Sodom and that Lot had been taken captive. When Abram heard that his relative had been captured, he gathered 318 trained men born in his household and pursued the invaders to Dan. At night, he divided his men into groups and attacked them. He pursued them all the way to Hobah, north of Damascus. None of the enemy survived except the 4 kings, who fled each in his own direction. Abram recovered all the stolen goods, his nephew Lot, and all his possessions, the women, and the rest of the people. Melchizedek, Adonizedek, king of Salem, Jerusalem, who was also Shem, came out with his men to meet Abram and his people. He brought bread and wine, for he was a priest of the Most High God. They stayed in the valley of Melech. Melchizedek blessed Abram, saying,
"Blessed be Abram, of the Most High God, possessor of heaven and earth. And blessed be the Most High God, who has delivered your enemies into your hand."
Abram gave him a tithe of all the spoils from his enemies. The Lord established this as an everlasting ordinance, that tithes would be given to the priests who serve before him. This law is eternal. It has no end, declaring that 1/10 of everything, including grain, wine, oil, cattle, and sheep, should be given to the Lord. After Abram returned from defeating the kings, he and his men passed through the valley of Siddim, Sheva, also known as the King's Valley, where the battle had taken place. Bera, king of Sodom, and his remaining men climbed out of the tar pits to meet Abram and his group. The kings of Sodom and Gomorrah, along with their servants, came to Abram and begged him to return their people who had been taken captive. They told him to keep all the goods for himself. But Abram replied,
"Surely as the Lord lives, he who created heaven and earth, who rescued me from every trouble, and who delivered my enemies into my hand today, I will not take anything that belongs to you. I don't want you to say tomorrow, Abram got rich from the goods he saved for us. My God in whom I trust promised me, you will lack nothing, for I will bless all the work of your hands. So here, take everything that is yours and go. I won't even take a thread or a sandal strap, except for the food that my men use and a fair share for the men who went with me, Anna, Eshcol, and Mamre, and those who stayed with the supplies. They'll take their portion."
The kings of Sodom agreed and offered Abram anything he wanted, but he refused. He dismissed the kings and their people, gave instructions concerning Lot, and sent them all back to their homes. Lot also returned to Sodom with his possessions. Abram and his people went back to their home in the plains of Mamre in Hebron. Around that time, Lot's wife gave birth to a daughter. He named her Paltith, saying,
"Because God delivered him and his whole household from the kings of Elam."
Abraham Saga, Misguided Ark. Chapter 25, Horror. After these events, in the 4th year of that week, on the new moon of the 3rd month, the word of the Lord came to Abram in a vision while he was in Hebron. The Lord said,
"Don't be afraid, Abram. I am your shield and your very great reward. I will not leave you until I have multiplied you, blessed you, and made your descendants as countless as the stars in the sky."
Abram replied,
"Lord God, what will you give me, since I remain childless, and the steward of my household is this Eliezer of Damascus, the son of Masach, who was born to my handmaid?"
Abram continued,
"Look, you haven't given me any offspring, so someone born in my household is my heir."
Then the word of the Lord came to him again, saying,
"This man will not be your heir. Your heir will be one who comes from your own body."
Then the Lord took him outside and said,
Look up at the sky and count the stars if you can count them.
Abram looked up and saw the stars. The Lord said,
That's how many your descendants will be.
Abram believed the Lord, and the Lord counted it to him as righteousness. Then he said,
I am the Lord who brought you out of Ur of the Chaldees to give you this land of the Canaanites as your inheritance. I will be God to you and to your descendants after you.
Abram asked,
God, how can I know that I will inherit it?
The Lord answered,
Bring me a 3-year-old heifer, a 3-year-old female goat, a 3-year-old ram, a turtle dove, and a young pigeon.
So Abram gathered all of these animals in the middle of the month and stayed at the oak of Mamre near Hebron. There he built an altar and offered all of them in sacrifice. He divided the animals in half and placed each half opposite the other. However, he did not divide the birds, and he poured out their blood on the altar. When birds came down to feed on the carcasses, Abram drove them away and didn't let them touch the offerings. As the sun was setting, Abram fell into a deep sleep, and a feeling of great dread and darkness came over him. Then the Lord said to Abram,
Know for certain that your descendants will be strangers in a land that is not theirs. They will be enslaved and mistreated for 400 years. But I will judge the nation they serve, and afterward they will come out with great wealth. As for you, you will go to your ancestors in peace and be buried at a good old age. But in the 4th generation they will return here again, because the sin of the Amorites is not yet complete.
Abram woke up from his sleep and got up. When the sun had set and it was dark, a smoking furnace and a burning lamp passed between the pieces of the sacrifice. That same day, the Lord made a covenant with Abram, saying,
To your descendants I have given this land, from the river of Egypt to the great river, the Euphrates, the Kenites, Kenizzites, Cadmonites, Hittites, Perizzites, Rephaims, Amorites, Canaanites, Girgashites, and Jebusites. Be strong and do not be afraid. Walk before me and be blameless.
The day passed, and Abram presented the pieces of the sacrifice, the birds, and their grain and drink offerings. Fire consumed them. On that day, we made a covenant with Abram, just as we had made with Noah in this same month. And Abram renewed the festival and the ordinance for himself, to be kept forever. Abraham Saga, Misguided Ark, Chapter 26, Expel. Abram rejoiced and shared all these things with Sarai, the daughter of Haran. But Sarai, Abram's wife, still had not given him any children. Seeing that she remained childless, Sarai took her handmaid Hagar, whom Pharaoh had given her, and gave her to Abram as a wife. Hagar had learned all of Sarai's ways, as Sarai had taught her, and she followed those good ways faithfully. Sarai said to Abram,
Look now, the Lord has kept me from bearing children. Sleep with my Egyptian maid so that she may bear a child on my behalf. Maybe I can have children through her.
Abram listened to what Sarai said. So Sarai, Abram's wife, took Hagar, her Egyptian maid, and gave her to Abram as a wife, after Abram had lived in the land of Canaan for 10 years. Abram was 85 years old at the time. Abram followed Sarai's suggestion and took Hagar. He slept with her, and she became pregnant. When Hagar realized she had conceived, she was filled with joy and began to look down on her mistress. She thought to herself,
Surely this means I am more favored by God than Sarai, my mistress. She's been with my Lord all these years and didn't conceive, but now the Lord has made me pregnant so quickly.
When Sarai saw that Hagar was pregnant by Abram, she became jealous of her maid. Sarai thought,
She must be better than I am.
Sarai said to Abram,
Let my wrong be upon you. When you prayed to the Lord for children, why didn't you pray for me to have a child by you? And now, when I speak to Hagar in your presence, she looks down on me because she's pregnant, and you say nothing to her. May the Lord judge between you and me for what you've done to me.
Abram replied to Sarai,
Your maid is under your authority. Do with her as you think best.
So Sarai treated her harshly, and Hagar fled from her into the wilderness. The angel of the Lord found her near a spring of water in the wilderness, by the spring on the road to Shur. He said,
Hagar, Sarai's maid, don't be afraid. Where have you come from, and where are you going?
She answered,
I'm running away from my mistress Sarai.
Then the angel of the Lord said,
Go back to your mistress and submit to her.
And the angel of the Lord also said,
I will greatly multiply your descendants, so that they will be too many to count.
Then the angel of the Lord said,
Look, you are pregnant and will give birth to a son. Name him Ishmael, because the Lord has heard your suffering. He will be a wild man. His hand will be against everyone, and everyone's hand against him. He will live in the presence of all his brothers.
Hagar gave the Lord who spoke to her a name,
You are the God who sees me.
because she said,
Have I really seen the one who sees me?
That's why the well was named Bir Lahairoi. It is located between Kadesh and the wilderness of Bered. At that time, the city of Tanais in Egypt was built 7 years after Hebron. Hagar returned to her master's house, and she gave birth to a son for Abram. Abram named the son that Hagar bore Ishmael. Abram was 86 years old when Hagar gave birth to Ishmael. This happened in the 5th year of that week. Around this time, Nahor and Milcah had children. Their sons were Huz, the firstborn, Buz, his brother, Kemuel, who became the father of Aram, Chesed, Hazo, Pildash, Jidlaph, and Bethuel, 8 sons in all. Nahor also had a concubine named Ruma, and she gave birth to 4 sons, Zebach, Gachash, Tachash, and Macha. In total, Nahor had 12 sons, not counting his daughters. These children had children of their own in Haran. Abraham Saga, Misguided Ark, Chapter 27, Repudiate! In those days, during the 91st year of Abram's life, the children of Chittim went to war with the children of Tubal. After the Lord had scattered the sons of men across the earth, the children of Chittim settled in the plain of Canopia. There, they built cities and lived by the river Tibreu. The children of Tubal lived in Tuscana, with their territory stretching to the river Tibreu as well. They built a city in Tuscana and named it Sabina, after Sabina, the son of Tubal, their ancestor. They still live there to this day. At that time, the children of Chittim went to war against the children of Tubal. The children of Tubal were defeated, and the children of Chittim killed 370 men from among them. Then the children of Tubal swore an oath to the children of Chittim, saying,
You shall not intermarry with us, and no man shall give his daughter to any of the sons of Chittim.
In those days, the daughters of Tubal were known for their beauty. There were no women on earth as fair as they were. Everyone who admired beautiful women went to the daughters of Tubal to find wives. Even the sons of men, including kings and princes who were captivated by beauty, took wives from among the daughters of Tubal in those days. 3 years after the children of Tubal had sworn not to give their daughters to the children of Chittim, about 20 young men from Chittim came seeking wives from among the daughters of Tubal. But they found none, because the children of Tubal had remained faithful to their oath and refused to break it. During harvest season, while the children of Tubal were out in the fields gathering their crops, the young men of Chittim gathered together and went to the city of Sabina. Each of them took a young woman from among the daughters of Tubal and brought her back to their own cities. When the children of Tubal heard about this, they prepared to go to war, but they couldn't defeat them because the mountain separating them was too high. When they realized they couldn't prevail, they returned to their land. The next year, the children of Tubal hired about 10,000 men from nearby cities and went to war again with the children of Chittim. Their goal was to destroy Chittim's land and cause them distress. In that battle, the children of Tubal prevailed. When the children of Chittim saw how severely they were being attacked, they brought the children they had fathered with the daughters of Tubal up onto the city wall so they could be seen by the attacking army. Then they said,
Have you come to make war against your own sons and daughters? Haven't we always been part of your own flesh and blood from the beginning until now?
When the children of Tubal heard this, they stopped fighting and ended the war with the children of Chittim. Then they went back to their land. Afterward, they returned to their own cities. Around that time, the children of Chittim gathered together and built 2 cities by the sea. They named one Purtu and the other Ariza. Abraham Saga, Misguided Ark, Chapter 28, Circumcision. In the 5th year of the 4th week of this Jubilee, during the 3rd month and in the middle of the month, Abram celebrated the feast of the first fruits of the grain harvest. He presented new offerings on the altar, first fruits of the produce, to the Lord, a heifer, a goat, and a sheep as a burnt offering. Along with these, he also offered their grain and drink offerings on the altar, with frankincense. When Abram, son of Terah, was 99 years old, the Lord appeared to him and said, Abram fell face down, and God spoke to him, saying,
As for me, here is my covenant with you. You will be the father of many nations. Your name will no longer be Abram, your name will be Abraham, for I have made you a father of many nations. I will make you extremely fruitful, and nations and kings will come from you. I will establish my covenant between me and you and your descendants after you throughout their generations as an everlasting covenant, to be your God and the God of your descendants after you. I will give to you and your descendants after you the land where you now live as a foreigner, all the land of Canaan, as an everlasting possession, and I will be their God.
Then God said to Abraham,
You and your descendants after you must keep my covenant throughout their generations. This is my covenant that you are to keep between me and you and your descendants. Every male among you must be circumcised. You must circumcise the flesh of your foreskin, and this will be the sign of the covenant between us. Every male among you who is 8 days old must be circumcised throughout your generations, including those born in your household, or bought with money from any foreigner, even if they are not your offspring. Both those born in your house and those you buy must be circumcised. In this way, my covenant will be in your flesh as an everlasting covenant. Any uncircumcised male who has not been circumcised in the flesh of his foreskin will be cut off from his people. He has broken my covenant.
God also said to Abraham,
As for your wife Sarai, you are no longer to call her Sarai. Her name will be Sarah. I will bless her and will also give you a son by her. Yes, I will bless her, and she will become the mother of nations. Kings of peoples will come from her.
Then Abraham fell face down and laughed, saying to himself,
Can a child be born to a man who is 100 years old? Can Sarah bear a child at 90?
And Abraham said to God,
If only Ishmael could live in your presence.
God replied,
Yes, but your wife Sarah will bear you a son, and you will name him Isaac. I will establish my covenant with him as an everlasting covenant for his descendants after him. As for Ishmael, I have heard you. I will bless him, make him fruitful, and multiply him greatly. He will father 12 princes, and I will make him into a great nation. But my covenant I will establish with Isaac, whom Sarah will bear to you at this same time next year.
When God finished speaking with Abraham, he went up from him. Then Abraham took his son Ishmael, all those born in his household, and everyone he had bought with money, every male in his household, and circumcised them all that same day, just as God had told him. Ishmael was 13 years old when he was circumcised. Abraham was circumcised on the same day along with his son Ishmael. Every male in his household, both those born there and those bought from foreigners, were circumcised with him. This law is to be kept by all generations forever. There is no shifting of days and no allowance to skip the 8th day. It is an eternal rule, written on the heavenly tablets. Anyone born who is not circumcised on the 8th day does not belong to the children of the covenant the Lord made with Abraham. Instead, they are counted among the children of destruction. They bear no sign showing they belong to the Lord and are marked for destruction, to be cut off from the earth, for they have broken the Lord's covenant. All the angels of the presence and angels of sanctification were created this way from the beginning, and in front of them he set Israel apart to be with him and his holy angels. So now you must command the children of Israel to keep this sign of the covenant through all generations as an eternal rule, so they will not be removed from the land. This command was given as a covenant to be kept forever by all the children of Israel. As for Ishmael, his sons, his brothers, and Esau, the Lord did not bring them near to himself. He did not choose them, even though they are Abraham's children, because he knew them. Instead, he chose Israel to be his people. He made them holy and set them apart from all the other people. Though there are many nations and many peoples and all belong to him, he has placed spirits in authority over them to lead them away from him. But over Israel he appointed no angel or spirit. He alone is their ruler, and he will protect them and hold his angels, spirits, and all his powers accountable to ensure that he preserves and blesses them, so they may belong to him and he to them, now and forever. Now I tell you, the children of Israel will not stay faithful to this law. They will not circumcise their sons according to the law. They will neglect the circumcision of their sons, and all of them, sons of Beliar, will leave their sons uncircumcised, just as they were born. The Lord will pour out great anger on the children of Israel because they have broken his covenant, turned away from his word, and provoked and blasphemed him by ignoring this law. They have made their bodies like the Gentiles, and because of that, they will be removed and cut off from the land. There will no longer be forgiveness or pardon for them for this eternal offense. Abraham Saga, Misguided Ark, Chapter 29, Vileness. On the third day, Abraham came out of his tent and sat at the entrance, enjoying the warmth of the sun while still recovering from the pain in his body. On the new moon of the 4th month, the Lord appeared to him in the plains of Mamre and sent 3 of his ministering angels to visit him. As Abraham sat at the tent entrance, he looked up and saw 3 men approaching from a distance. He quickly got up, ran to meet them, bowed before them, and brought them into his home. Abraham said,
My Lord, if I found favor in your eyes, please don't pass by your servant. Let a little water be brought so you can wash your feet and rest yourselves under the tree. I'll bring a bit of bread to refresh you, and then you can continue on your way, since you've come to your servant.
They replied,
Do as you say.
So they turned in, and Abraham brought them water to wash their feet, and he had them sit under a tree at the entrance of the tent. Abraham hurried into the tent to Sarah and said,
Quickly make 3 measures of fine flour, knead it, and bake some cakes on the hearth.
Then Abraham ran to the herd, picked out a tender, good calf, and gave it to a young man, Eliezer, who quickly prepared it. Abraham took butter, milk, and the prepared calf, and set it all before them. He stood by them under the tree while they ate. They asked Abraham,
Where is Sarah, your wife?
He answered,
She's in the tent.
One of them said,
I will definitely return to you at the appointed time, and look, your wife Sarah will have a son.
Sarah was listening at the tent entrance behind him. Now Abraham and Sarah were old, well along in years, and Sarah was no longer able to have children. So she laughed to herself and said,
After I'm old, will I really know such joy, my husband being old too?
Then the Lord said to Abraham,
Why did Sarah laugh and say, Will I really have a child now that I'm old? Is anything too hard for the Lord? At the appointed time I'll return to you, and Sarah will have a son.
Sarah denied it, saying,
I didn't laugh.
Because she was afraid. But he said,
No, you did laugh.
And we told her the name of her son, as it was already decided and written on the heavenly tablets, Isaac. When we returned to her at the appointed time, she would have conceived a son. The men got up and looked toward Sodom, and Abraham walked with them to see them off. Then the Lord said,
Should I hide from Abraham what I'm about to do? After all, Abraham is going to become a great and powerful nation, and all the nations of the earth will be blessed through him. I know him. He'll instruct his children and his household after him to keep the Lord's ways, doing what's right and just, so that the Lord will bring about what he promised Abraham.
Then the Lord said,
The outcry against Sodom and Gomorrah is great, and their sin is very serious. I'm going down to see whether what they've done matches the outcry that has reached me. If not, I'll know.
The men turned away and headed toward Sodom, but Abraham remained standing before the Lord. In those days, the people of Sodom, Gomorrah, and all 5 surrounding cities were extremely wicked and sinful against the Lord. They provoked him with their abominations and continued aging in their wickedness, growing more shameless and corrupt in his sight. Their crimes and evil deeds were truly great before the Lord at that time. In their land there was a vast valley about half a day's journey across, with springs of water and abundant greenery growing around them. All the people of Sodom and Gomorrah would go there 4 times a year with their wives, children, and all their belongings to celebrate with music and dancing. During these festivals, they would rise up and take each other's wives, and even the virgin daughters of their neighbors, and they would sleep with them. Each man saw his wife and daughter in the hands of another, but said nothing. They carried on like this from morning until night, then returned home, each man to his house and each woman to her tent. This was their custom 4 times each year. Also, when a traveler came to their cities with goods to sell, the people, men, women, and children, young and old, would all come out, surround him, and take his goods by force. Each person would take a little until all the goods the stranger had brought were gone. If the owner tried to argue, saying, "What is this you've done to me?" they would each approach him, show him the little bit they took, and mock him, saying, "I only took what you gave me." When he heard this from all of them, he would walk away heartbroken and bitter. Then they would all chase after him and force him out of the city with loud noise and chaos. There was once a man from the land of Elam traveling slowly along the road on his donkey. The donkey carried a fine, multicolored cloak tied on with a cord. As the man passed through the streets of Sodom at sunset, he stopped there to spend the night, but no one would allow him into their home. At that time, there was a particularly wicked and devious man in Sodom named Hadad, who was known for his skill in evil. Hadad saw the traveler and came to him, asking,
"Where are you coming from? And where are you headed?"
The man answered,
"I'm traveling from Hebron to Elam, where I live. The sun set while I was on the road, and no one has let me stay in their home, even though I have bread, water, straw, and feed for my donkey. I'm not lacking anything."
Hadad said,
"I'll provide everything you need, but you must not spend the night in the street."
So Hadad took him into his house. He removed the cloak and cord from the donkey and brought them inside. He gave the donkey straw and feed while the traveler ate and drank in Hadad's house and stayed there that night. The next morning the traveler got up early to continue his journey, but Hadad said,
"Wait a bit, have a bite to eat and refresh yourself before you go."
The man agreed, and they both ate and drank together that day. When the traveler got up to leave, Hadad said,
"Look, the day is almost over. Stay the night so you can rest. Go in the morning."
Hadad urged him to stay, so the man remained again. On the second day the traveler again rose early to leave, but Hadad insisted.
"Eat something first, then go."
So he stayed and ate again on the second day. When the man got up to leave, Hadad said,
"The day is almost done. Stay one more night and go early in the morning."
But this time the man refused. He saddled his donkey. As he did, Hadad's wife said to her husband,
"This man stayed with us for 2 days, eating and drinking, and he hasn't given us anything. Is he really going to leave now, without giving us something?"
Hadad replied,
"Be quiet."
The traveler finished saddling his donkey and asked Hadad for the cord and cloak to tie on the donkey. Hadad asked,
"What are you talking about?"
The man said,
"I'm asking you, my lord, to return the multicolored cloak and the cord that you took off my donkey and stored in your house for safekeeping."
Hadad replied,
"That was just a dream you had. The cord you saw means your life will be long, and the colorful cloak means you'll have a vineyard where you'll plant all kinds of fruit trees."
The traveler said,
"No, my lord, I was fully awake when I gave you the cord and cloak, and you took them from my donkey to keep in your house."
Hadad insisted,
"I've already told you the meaning of your dream, and it's a good dream. I normally charge 4 pieces of silver for dream interpretations, but I'm only asking you for 3.
The traveler was furious and wept bitterly. He brought Hadad before Sirach, the judge of Sodom, and presented his case. Hadad responded,
"That's not what happened. Here's what really happened."
And the judge said to the traveler,
"This man, Hadad, is telling the truth. He's known in all the cities for interpreting dreams accurately."
The traveler cried out to the judge, saying,
"No, my lord! I gave him the cord and cloak during the day when I was awake, and he took them into his house to keep for me."
They argued back and forth in front of the judge, each claiming a different version of the events. Hadad said,
"Give me the 4 silver pieces I charge for dream interpretation. I'm not making any exceptions. Also, pay for the 4 meals you ate in my house."
The traveler replied,
"I'll gladly pay for the food I ate. Just give me back the cord and cloak that you hid in your house."
But Hadad repeated to the judge,
"Did I not tell him the meaning of his dream? The cord means a long life, and the cloak means he'll have a fruitful vineyard. That's the proper interpretation. And now I want my 4 pieces of silver. I won't accept anything less."
The traveler wept at Hadad's words. The two continued arguing, and eventually the judge ordered his servants to drive them both out of the courtroom roughly. They left the judge's house still quarreling, and when the people of Sodom heard them, they gathered around, sided with their own, and drove the stranger out of the city with harshness. So the man continued his journey on his donkey, full of sorrow, crying over what had happened to him in the corrupt city of Sodom. The cities of Sodom had 4 judges for their 4 cities. Their names were Sirach in Sodom, Sharkad in Gomorrah, Zabnach in Admah, and Menon in Zeboim. Eliezer, Abraham's servant, gave them different names. He changed Sirach to Shakra, Sharkad to Shakrura, Zebnach to Kezobim, and Menon to Matzlodin. Following the wishes of these 4 judges, the people of Sodom and Gomorrah set up beds in the streets of their cities. If a man passed by these places, they would grab him and force him to lie on one of the beds. While he was lying down, 3 men would stand at his head and 3 at his feet and measure him against the bed. If the man was shorter than the bed, the 6 men would stretch him from both ends. If he cried out, they would ignore him. If he was longer than the bed, they would compress the sides of the bed inward until the man was nearly dead. And if he continued crying out, they would say,
"This is what happens to any man who enters our land."
When people heard about all the terrible things happening in Sodom, they avoided going there. When a poor man entered their land, the people would give him silver and gold, then make a city-wide proclamation forbidding anyone from giving him even a bite of bread to eat. If the stranger stayed in the city for a few days and died from hunger, unable to find even a morsel of food, then after his death all the people would come and reclaim the silver and gold they had given him. Anyone who recognized the silver or gold they had given would take it back. They would also strip the dead man of his clothes and fight over them, and whoever overpowered his neighbor would take them. Then they would carry the body and bury it under some shrubs in the wilderness. This is what they did to anyone who came to them and died in their land. Eliezer went to Sodom and came upon a man of Sodom fighting with a stranger. The Sodomite had stripped the poor man of all his clothes and walked away. The poor man cried out to Eliezer and begged for help because of what had been done to him. Eliezer said to the Sodomite,
"Why are you treating this poor man like that when he came into your land?"
The Sodomite answered,
"Is this man your brother? Or did the people of Sodom appoint you as judge today that you speak on his behalf?"
Eliezer argued with the man about the poor victim, and when he stepped forward to retrieve the man's clothes, the Sodomite quickly struck Eliezer in the forehead with a stone. Blood poured from Eliezer's head. When the man saw the blood, he grabbed Eliezer and said,
"Pay me for removing the bad blood from your forehead. That's the custom and the law here."
Eliezer replied,
"You've wounded me, and now demand payment."
Eliezer refused to listen to him. So the man grabbed Eliezer and brought him before Shakra, the judge of Sodom, to settle the matter. The man said to the judge,
"Please, my lord, this is what happened. I struck him with a stone. Blood flowed from his forehead, and now he refuses to pay me."
The judge told Eliezer,
"This man is right. Pay him. That's the custom here."
When Eliezer heard this, he picked up a stone and struck the judge on the forehead. Blood flowed heavily from the judge's head, and Eliezer said,
"If this is the custom in your land, then give him what I would have owed, because that's the judgment you made."
Then Eliezer left the Sodomite with the judge and walked away. Paltith, the daughter of Lot, grew up, and one of the men of Sodom married her. A poor man came into the city looking for help and stayed there for several days. The people of Sodom proclaimed their usual law forbidding anyone to give him a piece of bread until he died in the street. And that's what they did. But Paltith saw the man lying in the street, starving, with no one willing to give him anything, and he was on the verge of death. Her heart was filled with compassion, and she secretly fed him bread for many days. His strength returned because when she went out to get water, she would hide the bread in her water pitcher. Then, when she passed by him, she would take the bread out and give it to him. She did this for many days. The people of Sodom and Gomorrah were puzzled at how the man had survived so long. They said,
"He must be eating and drinking somehow. No one can survive this long without food, and he doesn't even look sick."
So 3 men hid near the place where the poor man stayed to find out who was feeding him. That day, Paltith went out to get water and again placed bread in her water pitcher. As she came to the spot where the poor man lay, she pulled out the bread and gave it to him. The 3 men saw what she did and said,
"So, you're the one keeping him alive. That's why he hasn't starved or changed in appearance like the others."
The 3 men came out from their hiding place and seized Paltith and the bread in the poor man's hand. They brought her before the judges and said,
"Here's what she did. She gave bread to the poor man, which is why he hasn't died. Now tell us what punishment she deserves for breaking our law."
The people of Sodom and Gomorrah gathered together and lit a fire in the street. They took Paltith and threw her into the fire, and she was burned to ashes. In the city of Admah, something similar happened. A traveler came to the city intending to stay the night and continue his journey in the morning. He sat near the doorway of a house that belonged to a young woman's father because the sun had already set. The young woman saw him sitting there, and he asked her for a drink of water. She asked,
"Who are you?"
He replied,
I've been traveling today and got here at sunset. I'll rest here tonight, and in the morning I'll continue my journey.
The young woman went inside and brought him bread and water to eat and drink. Word of this reached the people of Admah, and they gathered and brought her before the judges to be judged for her actions. The judge declared,
"This woman must be sentenced to death because she broke our law. That's our ruling."
The people of the city assembled, brought the young woman out, and anointed her with honey from head to toe, as the judge had ordered. Then they placed her in front of a beehive. The bees swarmed her, stinging her until her whole body was swollen. The young woman cried out in pain, but no one helped her or showed her any mercy. Her cries rose up to heaven. The Lord was angered by this and by everything else the cities of Sodom had done. Though they had plenty of food and lived in peace, they refused to help the poor and needy. Their evil deeds and sins grew increasingly terrible in the Lord's sight during those days. Abraham came closer and said,
Will you really sweep away the righteous along with the wicked? What if there are 50 righteous people in the city? Will you still destroy it and not spare the place for the sake of those 50 righteous people? Far be it from you to do such a thing, to kill the righteous with the wicked, treating the righteous the same as the wicked. Far be it from you. Shouldn't the judge of all the earth do what's right?
The Lord replied,
If I find 50 righteous people in Sodom, I will spare the entire place for their sake.
Abraham answered,
Look, now I've taken it upon myself to speak to the Lord, though I am only dust and ashes. What if there are 45 righteous? Will you destroy the city for 5 fewer people?
He said,
I won't destroy it if I find 45 there.
Then Abraham spoke again.
What if only 40 are found there?
And he said,
I won't do it for the sake of 40.
Abraham said,
Please don't be angry, Lord, but let me speak. What if 30 are found there?
He answered,
I won't do it if I find 30.
And Abraham said,
Look, I've dared to speak to the Lord. What if only 20 are found there?
He said,
I won't destroy it for the sake of 20.
Then he said,
Please don't be angry, Lord, but let me speak just once more. What if only 10 are found there?
He answered,
I will not destroy it for the sake of 10.
Then the Lord went on his way as soon as he had finished speaking with Abraham, and Abraham returned home. The Lord sent 2 of the angels who had visited Abraham to destroy Sodom and its neighboring cities. After eating and drinking at Abraham's tent, the angels got up and arrived in Sodom in the evening. Lot was sitting at the gate of Sodom, and when he saw them, he got up to meet them and bowed down with his face to the ground. He said,
Please, my lords, come into your servant's house. Stay the night, wash your feet, and in the morning you can go on your way.
But they said,
No, we'll spend the night in the streets.
Lot insisted strongly, and they finally agreed and went with him into his house. He prepared a feast for them and baked unleavened bread, and they ate. Before they went to bed, the men of Sodom, young and old from every part of the city, surrounded the house. They called out to Lot,
Where are the men who came to you tonight? Bring them out to us, so we can know them.
Lot went out to them, shutting the door behind him. He said,
Please, my brothers, don't do such a wicked thing. Look, I have 2 daughters who have never known a man. Let me bring them out to you, and you can do what you want with them. But don't do anything to these men, for they have come under the protection of my roof.
They shouted,
Stand back.
And they said,
This guy came here as a foreigner, and now he wants to act like a judge. We'll treat you worse than them.
They pushed hard against Lot and came close to breaking down the door. But the angels reached out, pulled Lot back inside, and shut the door. Then they struck the men at the door, both young and old, with blindness, so they couldn't even find the entrance. The angel said to Lot,
Do you have anyone else here, sons-in-law, sons, daughters, or anyone else in the city who belongs to you? Get them out of here. We are going to destroy this place, because the outcry against it is so great before the Lord, and the Lord has sent us to destroy it.
Lot went to speak with his sons-in-law who were married to his daughters and said,
"Get up, get out of this place. The Lord is going to destroy the city."
But to his sons-in-law, he seemed like he was joking. When morning came, the angels urged Lot, saying,
Get up, take your wife and your 2 daughters who are here, or you'll be swept away in the punishment of the city.
But as he hesitated, the men took hold of his hand, his wife's hand, and the hands of his 2 daughters, the Lord being merciful to him, and they brought him out with everything that belonged to him and led him outside the city. After bringing them out, one of them said,
Run for your life. Don't look back and don't stay anywhere in the plain. Escape to the mountains or you'll be swept away.
But Lot said to them,
"Oh no, my lord! Look, your servant has found favor in your eyes, and you've shown great mercy by saving my life. But I can't flee to the mountains. Disaster might overtake me and I'd die. Look, there's a nearby city I can escape to. It's a small one. Please, let me flee there. It's just a small one, and my life will be spared."
The angel said to him,
Fine. I've granted your request about this matter too. I won't destroy the city you mentioned. Hurry, escape there. I can't do anything until you arrive.
That's why the city was called Zoar. The sun had risen over the land when Lot entered Zoar. During that month, the Lord carried out his judgment on Sodom, Gomorrah, Zeboam, and the entire region of the Jordan. He rained down fire and brimstone from heaven and destroyed them completely, even up to this day, just as I told you about all their wicked deeds. They were great sinners who defiled themselves, committed sexual immorality in their flesh, and practiced uncleanness on the earth. And in the same way, God will bring judgment on other places where people follow the same kind of uncleanness as the Sodomites, just as he judged Sodom. God overthrew the cities, the entire plain, all the inhabitants, and everything that grew on the ground. Lot's wife, Ado, looked back to see the destruction of the cities. Her heart was moved with compassion for her daughters who had stayed behind in Sodom and hadn't left with her. When she looked back, she turned into a pillar of salt, and it remains there to this day. The oxen that stand in that spot each day lick the salt to the edges of their feet, and by morning the salt would reform and they would lick it again. This continues to this day. Early the next morning, Abraham returned to the place where he had stood before the Lord. He looked out towards Sodom and Gomorrah and the entire land of the plain, and he saw smoke rising from the land like smoke from a furnace. When God destroyed the cities of the plain, he remembered Abraham and brought Lot out of the disaster that overthrew the cities where Lot had lived. Lot left Zoar and went up to the mountains with his 2 daughters, because he was afraid to stay in Zoar. They lived in a cave called Adullam, Lot and his 2 daughters. The firstborn said to the younger,
"Our father is old, and there's no man around to marry us, as is customary everywhere. Come, let's get our father drunk with wine, and we'll sleep with him so we can preserve our family line through him."
That night, they made their father drink wine. The firstborn went in and lay with her father, and he wasn't aware when she lay down or when she got up. The next day, the firstborn said to the younger,
"Last night I slept with our father. Let's make him drink wine again tonight, and you go in and sleep with him so we can preserve our family line through our father."
So they made their father drink wine that night too. The younger daughter went in and lay with him, and again he didn't realize when she lay down or when she got up. So both of Lot's daughters became pregnant by their father. He and his daughters committed a sin on the earth unlike anything that had happened since the days of Adam. A man slept with his daughters, and it was commanded and written down concerning all of Lot's descendants on the heavenly tablets, to remove them, uproot them, and carry out judgment against them like the judgment of Sodom, leaving no descendant of the man on earth when the day of condemnation comes. Abraham Saga, Ordeal Arc, Chapter 30, Ordeal. At that time, Abraham traveled from the plain of Mamre in Hebron to the land of the Philistines, heading toward the southern region between Kadesh and Shur. He settled in the mountains of Gerar. This happened in the 25th year of Abraham's time in the land of Canaan, and in the 100th year of his life, when he arrived in Gerar, in the land of the Philistines. When they entered the land, Abraham said to Sarah his wife,
"Tell anyone who asks that you are my sister, so we can avoid the evil intentions of the people here."
While Abraham was living in the land of the Philistines, the servants of Abimelech, king of the Philistines, noticed how stunningly beautiful Sarah was. They asked Abraham about her, and he told them,
"She is my sister."
The servants then went to Abimelech and said,
"A man from the land of Canaan has come to settle here, and he has a sister who is extremely beautiful."
When Abimelech heard what his servants said about Sarah, he sent his officers to bring her to him. When Sarah arrived at Abimelech's house, he saw how beautiful she was, and she pleased him greatly. He approached her and asked,
"Who is the man who came here with you?"
Sarah replied,
"He is my brother. We came from the land of Canaan looking for a place where we could settle."
Abimelech then said,
"Look, my land is open before you. Settle your brother wherever you choose, and we will make sure he is honored above all the people of the land, since he is your brother."
Abimelech sent for Abraham, and when Abraham arrived, the king said to him,
"I have given instructions for you to be honored in whatever way you desire because of your sister Sarah."
Abraham left the king's presence, and the king's gift followed him. That evening, as people were preparing for rest, the king sat on his throne. He fell into a deep sleep and remained there until morning. In his dream, an angel of the Lord appeared, holding a drawn sword. The angel stood over Abimelech, intending to kill him, and the king was terrified. In the dream, Abimelech asked,
"What have I done to deserve this? Why are you here to kill me with your sword?"
The angel replied,
"You will die because of the woman you brought into your house last night. She is married, Abraham's wife. Return her to her husband because she is his wife. If you don't, you will surely die along with everyone belonging to you."
But Abimelech hadn't gone near Sarah, and he said,
"Lord, will you destroy an innocent nation? Didn't he tell me she is my sister? And even she said, he is my brother. I've done this with a clear conscience and clean hands."
God responded in the dream,
"Yes, I know you acted with integrity, and that's why I kept you from sinning against me. I didn't let you touch her. Now return the man his wife. He is a prophet and will pray for you so that you will live. But if you don't return her, know for certain you will die, along with everyone connected to you."
That night, a great outcry arose in the land of the Philistines. The people saw a figure of a man with a drawn sword standing, and he struck the people of the land continuously. The angel of the Lord struck the entire Philistine region that night, causing great confusion then and into the next morning. Every womb was closed, and all bodily functions were afflicted. The hand of the Lord was against them because of Sarah, Abraham's wife, whom Abimelech had taken. In the morning, Abimelech woke up terrified and confused, filled with dread. He immediately summoned his servants and shared his dream with them. The people were very afraid. One of the king's servants stepped forward and said,
"O sovereign king, return the woman to her husband, for she is truly his wife." A similar thing happened with the king of Egypt when this same man went there. He claimed his wife was his sister. That's his usual way when he settles in a foreign land. Pharaoh took the woman to be his wife, and the Lord struck him with severe plagues until he returned her. So now, O king, remember what happened last night throughout the land? There was terrible panic, pain, and mourning. We know it was because of the woman you took. Return her to her husband, or the same disaster that struck Pharaoh and his people will come upon us, and we will die."
Abimelech quickly summoned Sarah, and she appeared before him. He also summoned Abraham, and he came as well. Abimelech asked Abraham,
"What have you done to us? You claimed you were brother and sister, and I took her to be my wife. How have I wronged you, that you would bring such a terrible offense upon me and my kingdom? What you have done to me is completely wrong."
Abraham replied,
"I thought surely there's no fear of God in this place, and that killed me because of my wife. And in fact, she really is my sister. She's the daughter of my father, though not of my mother. And she became my wife. When God led me to leave my father's house, I told her, this is the kindness you can do for me. Wherever we go, say about me, he is my brother."
Then Abimelech gave Abraham sheep, oxen, male and female servants, and 1,000 pieces of silver. He returned Sarah to him and said,
"My land is before you. Settle wherever you like."
To Sarah he said,
I've given your brother 1,000 pieces of silver. This is a public vindication for you, to everyone with you, and to all others."
And so she was publicly cleared. Abraham and Sarah left the king's presence with honor and respect and continued living in the land, in Gerar. But the people of the Philistines and the king's servants were still suffering from the plague the angel had brought on them all night because of Sarah. So Abimelech sent for Abraham and said,
"Please pray to the Lord your God for your servants, so that this deadly affliction may be lifted from us."
Abraham prayed to God, and God healed Abimelech, his wife, and his maidservants so that they could have children again. For the Lord had completely closed every womb in Abimelech's household because of Sarah, Abraham's wife. In the middle of the 5th month, Abraham left that place and settled at the well of the oath. Abraham Saga, Ordeal Arc, Chapter 31. Celebration. In the 6th year of the 4th week, in the middle of the 6th month, we visited Abraham at the well of the oath. We appeared to him just as we had told Sarah we would, promising that she would conceive a son. We returned in the 7th month and found Sarah already pregnant. We blessed him and told him everything that had been decreed about his future, that he would not die until he had fathered 6 more sons and had seen them before his death. But through Isaac, his name and descendants would be carried forward. All the descendants of his other sons would become Gentiles and be counted among them. However, from Isaac's children, one would become a holy seed, not to be counted among the Gentiles. This seed would belong to the Most High, and all of his line would fall under God's ownership, to be his people above all nations, a kingdom of priests and a holy nation. Then we left and went to Sarah and told her everything we had shared with Abraham. Both of them rejoiced with overwhelming joy. Abraham built an altar to the Lord, who had rescued him and brought him joy in the land where he was living. He celebrated a joyful 7-day festival in this month, near the altar he had built at the well of the oath. He made booths for himself and for his servants during the festival. He was the first person on earth to celebrate the Feast of Tabernacles. During each of the 7 days, he brought a burnt offering to the altar: 2 oxen, 2 rams, 7 sheep, and 1 he-goat as a sin offering, to make atonement for himself and his descendants. As a thank offering, he presented 7 rams, 7 kids, 7 sheep, and 7 he-goats, along with their grain and drink offerings. He burned all the fat on the altar, a special offering to the Lord, a sweet-smelling fragrance. Every morning and evening he burned aromatic substances: frankincense, galbanum, stacte, nard, myrrh, spice, and costum. He offered all 7 of these, crushed and blended together in equal and pure portions. He celebrated this feast for 7 days, rejoicing with all his heart and soul, along with everyone in his household. There were no outsiders or uncircumcised people with them. He praised his Creator, who had made him for his generation, for he had made him by his own will, knowing that from him would come the righteous branch for future generations, and from him a holy seed that would resemble the one who made all things. Abraham praised and rejoiced, naming this celebration the Festival of the Lord, a joy pleasing to the Most High God. We blessed him forever, and all his descendants after him, throughout every generation on earth, because he kept this festival in its proper season, according to the witness of the heavenly tablets. That's why it's written on the heavenly tablets that Israel must celebrate the Feast of Tabernacles for 7 joyful days in the 7th month, a law for all their generations, every year, forever. There is no time limit on this law. It is an eternal command for Israel to keep the festival, dwell in booths, wear wreaths on their heads, and take leafy branches and willows from the riverbank. Abraham took palm branches and the fruit of beautiful trees. Every day he circled the altar 7 times in the morning, giving praise and thanks to his God for everything with joy. Lot's oldest daughter gave birth to a son and named him Moab, saying,
"From my father did I conceive him."
He is the ancestor of the Moabites to this day. Lot's younger daughter also gave birth to a son, and she named him Benami. He is the ancestor of the Ammonites to this day. These are the sons born to Lot by his daughters. The firstborn was named Moab, and the second was named Benami. Afterward, Lot and his 2 daughters left that place and settled on the other side of the Jordan with their sons. As Lot's sons grew up, they married women from the land of Canaan. They had children, and their families grew and multiplied. The Lord kept his word to Sarah and did for her just as he had promised. She became pregnant and gave Abraham a son in his old age, at the exact time God had said it would happen, about 1 year and 4 months after Abraham had settled in the land of the Philistines in Gerar. Sarah gave birth to a son in the 3rd month, in the middle of the month, just as the Lord had told Abraham. It was during the festival of the first fruits of the harvest, and Abraham named the boy Isaac. When Isaac was 8 days old, Abraham circumcised him, just as God had commanded. Abraham was 100 years old, and Sarah was 90 when Isaac was born. Sarah said,
God has made me laugh, and everyone who hears about this will laugh with me.
She also said,
Who would have told Abraham that Sarah would nurse children? But I have given him a son in his old age.
At that time, Ishmael, the son of Abraham, had grown up. He was 14 years old when Sarah gave birth to Isaac. God was with Ishmael, and he grew up and learned to use the bow, eventually becoming an archer. In the 1st year of the 5th week of that jubilee, Isaac was weaned. Abraham held a great banquet in the 3rd month, on the day Isaac was weaned. Shem, Eber, and all the prominent people of the land came to celebrate, along with Abimelech, king of the Philistines, his servants, and Phicol, the commander of his army. They all ate, drank, and rejoiced at the feast Abraham made for Isaac's weaning. Terah, Abraham's father, and Nahor, his brother, also came from Haran, along with everyone belonging to them. They were overjoyed when they heard that Sarah had given birth to a son. They visited Abraham and joined in the feast, eating and drinking on the day Isaac was weaned. Terah and Nahor rejoiced with Abraham and stayed with him for many days in the land of the Philistines. Around that time, Serug, the son of Ro, died. This was the same year Isaac, the son of Abraham, was born. Serug lived 200 years after he fathered Nahor and had other sons and daughters. Altogether, Serug lived 239 years before he died. Abraham Saga, Ordeal Arc, Chapter 32. The mocker, Ishmael, the son of Hagar the Egyptian, stood before Abraham in his place, and Abraham rejoiced and praised God because he had lived to see his sons and had not died childless. He remembered the words God had spoken to him on the day Lot had separated from him and was filled with joy, knowing that the Lord had given him offspring on the earth to inherit it. With all his heart, he blessed the Creator of all things. When Isaac was 5 years old, he was sitting with Ishmael at the entrance of the tent. Ishmael came and sat across from him, took a bow, strung it, placed an arrow in it, and aimed to kill Isaac. Sarah saw Ishmael, the son of Hagar the Egyptian, whom she had borne to Abraham, mocking, playing, and dancing. She was deeply troubled because of her son. So she said to Abraham,
Cast out this bondwoman and her son, for the son of this bondwoman will not be heir with my son Isaac.
This request was very upsetting to Abraham because of his maidservant and his son, and the thought of sending them away grieved him. God said to Abraham,
Don't be troubled about the boy or your bondwoman. Listen to everything Sarah says, because it is through Isaac that your offspring will be named. But I will also make a nation from the son of the bondwoman, because he is your child too.
Early the next morning, Abraham got up and took 12 loaves of bread and a bottle of water. He gave them to Hagar, placed them on her shoulder along with the child, and sent her away. She left and wandered in the wilderness of Beersheba, in Paran, and Ishmael became an archer. When the water in the bottle ran out, the boy grew thirsty, and she laid him under one of the shrubs. She went a short distance away and sat down across from him under an olive tree, about a bow shot away. She said,
Let me not watch the death of the child.
She sat down across from him, lifted her voice, and wept. God heard the boy's cries, and the angel of God called to Hagar from heaven and said,
What's troubling you, Hagar? Why are you weeping? Don't be afraid, for God has heard the voice of the boy where he is. Get up, lift the boy, and hold him in your hand, for I will make him a great nation.
Then God opened her eyes, and she saw a well of water. She went, filled the bottle with water, and gave the boy a drink. Then she got up and made her way toward the wilderness of Paran. Abraham Saga, Ordeal Arc, Chapter 33, Reacquainting. In his old age, Terah, the father of Nahor and Abraham, took another wife, and her name was Pelilah. Pelilah became pregnant and gave birth to a son, whom Terah named Zobah. God was with the boy, and he grew up living in the wilderness and became an archer. He settled in the wilderness of Paran. His mother found him a wife from Egypt, whose name was Meribah, also called Reba. Meribah gave birth to a son, and Ishmael named him Nebaioth. She said,
The Lord was near to me when I called upon him.
These are the generations of Ishmael, Abraham's son, born to him by Hagar the Egyptian, Sarah's handmaid. The names of Ishmael's sons, listed by name and generation, were Nebaioth the firstborn, followed by Kedar, Adbeel, Mibsam, and their sister Basmath. Abraham's brother Nahor, along with their father Terah and their entire household, stayed in Haran. They did not accompany Abraham to the land of Canaan. Nahor had 12 sons and several daughters, who had children of their own while living in Haran. The sons of Uz, Nahor's firstborn, were Abi, Chereph, Gadan, Malus, and their sister Deborah. The sons of Buz were Bereshel, Namath, Sheva, and Madonu. The sons of Kemuel were Aram and Rechab. The sons of Kesed were Anamlech, Meshai, Benon, and Yiphi. The sons of Chazo were Pildash, Mechi, and Ophir. The sons of Pildash were Arad, Chamam, Mered, and Moloch. The sons of Tidlaph were Mushan, Cushan, and Mutsi. Bethuel's children were Sachar, Laban, and their sister Rebekah. These were the families descended from Nahor, born in Haran. Aram, Kemuel's son, and his brother Rechab left Haran and discovered a valley by the Euphrates River. There they built a city and named it Pethor, after Aram's son. That place is still known as Aram Naharaim. The children of Kesed also searched for a place to live. They found a valley opposite the land of Shinar and built a city called Kesed, named after their father. This city became the land of Kasdim, where the Kasdim lived and multiplied greatly. Ishmael's wife gave birth to 4 sons and 2 daughters. Ishmael, along with his mother, his wife, and their children, returned to the wilderness. They lived there in tents, traveling and resting at intervals. Because of his father Abraham, God blessed Ishmael with flocks, herds, and tents, and he became wealthy in livestock. Ishmael continued living a nomadic life in the desert for a long time and did not see his father during that period. Sometime later, Abraham said to his wife Sarah,
I want to go see my son Ishmael. I miss him, and it's been a long time since I last saw him.
So Abraham mounted one of his camels and went into the wilderness to find Ishmael, having heard that he was living in a tent out there with his household. Abraham arrived in the wilderness and reached Ishmael's tent around noon. He asked about Ishmael and found only Ishmael's wife and children at home. Ishmael and his mother were away. He asked Ishmael's wife,
Where has Ishmael gone?
She replied,
He went out to the field to hunt.
Abraham stayed on his camel, as he had sworn to Sarah that he wouldn't get off the camel during this visit. Then he said to her,
My daughter, please bring me a little water to drink. I'm tired from the journey.
Ishmael's wife answered,
We have no water or bread.
And she stayed seated in the tent. She didn't acknowledge Abraham or ask who he was. Instead, she yelled at her children, cursed them, and also cursed her husband Ishmael, complaining about him. Abraham heard her words and was deeply angered and disturbed. He called her out of the tent, and she came and stood across from him, Abraham still on his camel. He said,
When your husband Ishmael comes home, tell him this. An old man from the land of the Philistines came looking for you. I didn't ask him who he was. But since you weren't here, he said to tell you, when you return, remove the nail of the tent you have here and replace it with another.
After giving her these instructions, Abraham turned around and headed back home on his camel. When Ishmael returned with his mother from the hunt, his wife told him,
An old man from the land of the Philistines came looking for you. I didn't ask him who he was, but he said to tell you when your husband comes home, tell him this. Replace the nail of the tent you have here with another.
Ishmael understood that the visitor had been his father and realized that his wife had shown him no respect. Recognizing the meaning behind his father's words, Ishmael obeyed and divorced his wife Reba. She returned to Egypt and lived in her father's house. Ishmael had found her behavior displeasing, both to himself and to his father Abraham. Afterward, Ishmael went to the land of Canaan and married another woman. He brought her back to his home, and her name was Malchuth. Together, Ishmael and Malchuth had sons named Mishma, Nishma, Duma, Massa, Hadar, Chadad, Tema, Jeter, Naphish, and Kedma. These were Ishmael's sons, named by their towns and fortresses, 12 princes, each the head of their own nation. 3 years later, Abraham said,
I will go again to see my son Ishmael, for it has been a long time since I last saw him.
He rode his camel into the wilderness and reached Ishmael's tent around noon. When he asked about Ishmael, his wife came out and said,
My lord, he isn't here. He's gone to the fields to hunt and tend to the camels. Please come in and have a little bread. Surely you are tired from your journey.
Abraham replied,
I cannot stop. I must continue on quickly. But please give me a little water to drink. I am thirsty.
She quickly ran into the tent and brought out both water and bread, which she set before him. She urged him to eat, and he did, drinking and finding comfort. Abraham then blessed his son Ishmael. When he finished his meal, Abraham blessed the Lord and told her,
When Ishmael returns, say this to him. An old man from the land of the Philistines came looking for you. Since you were gone, I gave him food and water. He said to tell you, the nail of the tent you have is very good. Do not remove it.
Abraham finished giving her the message, then rode back home to the land of the Philistines. When Ishmael arrived, his wife ran out joyfully to greet him and said,
An old man from the land of the Philistines came while you were gone. I gave him food and water, and he was comforted. He said to tell you, the nail of the tent you have is very good. Do not remove it.
Ishmael knew it had been his father and that his wife had treated him with honor, so the Lord blessed him. Ishmael gathered his wife, children, livestock, and all his belongings and traveled to join his father in the land of the Philistines. There, Abraham told Ishmael about what had happened with his first wife. Ishmael and his children stayed with Abraham for many days. Abraham remained in the land of the Philistines for a long time. Abraham Saga, or Deal Arc. Chapter 34, Well of the Oath. After 26 years had passed, Abraham, along with his servants and everything he owned, left the land of the Philistines and moved far away. They came near to Hebron and settled there. Abraham's servants dug wells for water, and everyone with Abraham lived near the water. The servants of Abimelech, king of the Philistines, heard that Abraham's servants had dug wells on the edge of their territory. They came and argued with Abraham's servants and ended up taking the large well they had dug. At that time, Abimelech and Phicol, the commander of his army, came with 20 men to speak with Abraham. They said,
God is with you in everything you do. Now, swear to me here by God that you will not deceive me, my son or my grandson. Just as I have shown kindness to you, do the same to me and to the land where you've been staying.
Abraham replied,
I will swear.
Then Abraham confronted Abimelech about the well of water that Abimelech's servants had violently taken. Abimelech said,
As the Lord lives, who created the whole earth, I had no idea who did this. You didn't tell me, and I hadn't heard anything about it until today.
Abraham took sheep and oxen and gave them to Abimelech, and the two of them made a covenant. Then Abraham set 7 ewe lambs apart from the flock. Abimelech asked,
What do these 7 ewe lambs mean that you've set aside?
Abraham replied,
You are to accept these 7 ewe lambs from me as a witness that I dug this well.
So Abimelech took the 7 ewe lambs from Abraham, along with the cattle and herds Abraham had also given him. That place was named Beersheba, because the two of them swore an oath there. They made a covenant at Beersheba, and afterward Abimelech and Phicol, the commander of his army, got up and returned to the land of the Philistines. Abraham and everyone with him stayed in Beersheba for a long time. Abraham called on the name of the Lord, the everlasting God, at that place. He planted a large grove in Beersheba and built it with 4 gates facing the 4 directions of the earth. He also planted a vineyard there. When a traveler came to Abraham, he could enter through whichever gate was on his path, stay, eat, drink, be satisfied, and then continue on his way. Abraham's home was always open to people passing by, and many came daily to eat and drink in his house. Anyone who was hungry and came to Abraham's house received bread to eat and drink until satisfied. Anyone who came naked was clothed with garments of his choosing. Abraham would also give him silver and gold and teach him about the Lord who had created him. Abraham did this throughout his entire life. Abraham, his children, and everyone with him lived in Beersheba, and he pitched his tent as far as Hebron. He stayed in the land of the Philistines for many years. Bethuel became the father of Rebekah. Lot's 2 sons married wives from the land of Canaan and had children. The children of Moab were Ed, Maon, Tarsus, and Canval, 4 sons who became the ancestors of the Moabites. All the families of Lot's descendants settled wherever they found land, for they were very fruitful and multiplied greatly. They built cities in the areas where they settled and named the cities after themselves. The sons of Nebaioth, Ishmael's firstborn, were Mend, Send, and Maon. The sons of Kedar were Alion, Chazam, Chamad, and Eli. The sons of Adbel were Shamad and Jabin. The sons of Mibsam were Obadiah, Ebedmelech, and Yush. These were the families of the children of Reba, Ishmael's wife. Terah lived 25 years after the birth of Zobah. He died in the 35th year after Isaac, son of Abraham, was born. Terah lived a total of 205 years and was buried in Haran. After these events, someone came and told Abraham, saying,
"Look, Milcah has also given birth to children for your brother Nahor."
Abraham Saga, Proving Ark, Chapter 35, Sacrifice. Isaac, the son of Abraham, continued to grow, and his father taught him the ways of the Lord so that he would know him. The Lord was with Isaac. When Isaac was 37 years old, his brother Ishmael was spending time with him in the tent. Ishmael boasted to Isaac, saying,
"I was 13 years old when the Lord spoke to our father to circumcise us, and I obeyed the word of the Lord, which he spoke to our father. I gave my life to the Lord and did not go against what he commanded our father."
Isaac replied,
"Why are you boasting to me about this? About a small piece of flesh you removed from your body, as the Lord commanded? As surely as the Lord lives, the God of my father Abraham, if the Lord were to say to my father, 'Take your son Isaac and offer him to me,' I wouldn't hold back. I would go gladly."
The Lord heard what Isaac said to Ishmael, and it pleased him. So he decided to test Abraham in this matter. During the 7th week, in the 1st year, in the 1st month of this Jubilee, on the 12th day, voices were heard in heaven about Abraham. They declared that Abraham was faithful in everything the Lord told him, that he loved the Lord and remained faithful through every trial. Then the day came when the sons of God gathered to present themselves before the Lord, and Satan came along with them. The Lord said to Satan,
"Where have you come from?"
Satan answered,
"From traveling throughout the earth and walking up and down in it."
The Lord asked him,
"What do you have to say about all the people on earth?"
Satan replied,
"I've seen that people only serve you when they need something. Once you give them what they want, they become comfortable and forget you. Take Abraham, son of Terah. At first he had no children, yet he still served you, built altars everywhere he went, offered sacrifices, and continually proclaimed your name to everyone. But now that he has a son, Isaac, he's forgotten you. He threw a great feast for everyone in the land and offered you nothing, not a burnt offering, peace offering, ox, lamb, or goat. From the day Isaac was born until now, 37 years, he hasn't built an altar or given you any offering. Since you gave him what he asked for, he's turned away from you."
Then the Lord said to Satan,
"Have you really considered my servant Abraham? There's no one like him on earth. He is blameless and upright before me, fears God and avoids evil. As surely as I live, if I told him, 'Offer your son Isaac to me,' he wouldn't hold back. All the more would he offer a burnt offering from his flocks or herds."
Then Satan, also called Mastema, the prince, answered,
"Look, Abraham loves his son Isaac more than anything else. Say the word, and you'll see whether he won't disobey and reject your command."
But the Lord knew Abraham was faithful through all his trials, leaving his homeland, facing famine, dealing with kings and their riches, having his wife taken from him, undergoing circumcision, and sending away Ishmael and Hagar. After these events, God tested Abraham. He called out,
"Abraham."
Abraham replied,
"Here I am."
And God said,
"Take your son, your only son Isaac, whom you love, and go to the land of Moriah. Offer him there as a burnt offering on one of the mountains I will show you. You will see a cloud and the glory of the Lord there."
Abraham thought to himself,
"How can I take my son Isaac away from his mother Sarah to offer him as a burnt offering to the Lord?"
He went into the tent and sat down in front of Sarah. He said to her,
"Our son Isaac has grown, and he hasn't studied the service of God for a while. Tomorrow I will take him to Shem and Eber, his son, so they can teach him the ways of the Lord. There he'll learn to know God and understand that when he prays constantly, God will hear him. That way, he'll learn how to serve the Lord."
Sarah replied,
"You've spoken well. Go, my lord, and do as you've said. But don't take him too far away from me or keep him away too long, because my soul is bound up with his."
Abraham said,
"My dear, let us pray to the Lord our God, that he will be kind to us.
That night, Sarah kept Isaac with her. She kissed him, held him, and gave him instructions until morning. She said,
"Oh, my son, how can I let you go?"
She kept embracing and kissing him, then gave Abraham final instructions for him. She said,
"My lord, please watch over our son. I have no other child, no son or daughter but him. Don't leave him. If he's hungry, give him bread. If he's thirsty, give him water. Don't let him walk. Don't let him sit in the sun, and don't let him travel alone. Don't force him to do anything. Just do whatever he asks."
Sarah wept bitterly through the night for Isaac and gave him more instructions until morning. Then she chose a fine and beautiful garment from her wardrobe, one that Abimelech had given her, and dressed Isaac in it. She placed a turban on his head and set a precious stone at the top. She packed food for the journey, and then Isaac set out with his father Abraham. Some of their servants went with them to see them off. Sarah also walked with them for a while to say goodbye. When they told her,
"Return to the tent,"
she heard Isaac speak and began to cry bitterly. Abraham wept too, and Isaac wept with them. The others who were with them also cried deeply. Sarah grabbed Isaac, held him tightly in her arms, and wept with him. She said,
"Who knows if I'll ever see you again after today?"
They all cried together, Abraham, Sarah, Isaac, and everyone who accompanied them. Then Sarah turned back, still weeping bitterly, and all her male and female servants returned with her to the tent. Abraham saddled his donkey and set out with his son Isaac to offer him to the Lord, just as God had commanded. He took 2 young men with him, his son Ishmael and his servant Eliezer, and they all traveled together. As they walked along the road, the young men began talking among themselves. Ishmael said to Eliezer,
"Now that my father Abraham is taking Isaac to offer him as a burnt offering to the Lord, when he comes back he'll give me everything he owns as his firstborn."
But Eliezer replied,
"Remember, Abraham sent you and your mother away and swore that you wouldn't inherit anything from him. Who else would he leave his possessions to but me, his loyal servant, who's been faithful in his house, who's served him day and night and done everything he's asked? I'm the one he'll leave everything to when he dies."
As Abraham and Isaac were walking, Satan appeared to Abraham in the form of a very old man with a humble and sorrowful look. He came up to Abraham and said,
Are you foolish or lacking in sense that you're going to do this to your only son? God gave him to you in your old age. Will you really kill him today, even though he's done nothing wrong? Will you let your son's life be taken for no reason? Don't you realize that this can't be from the Lord? God wouldn't command a man to kill his own child.
Abraham recognized that this was Satan trying to divert him from God's path, and he refused to listen. He rebuked Satan, who then left. Satan came again, this time to Isaac, disguised as a handsome young man. He approached Isaac and said,
Don't you understand that your old and foolish father is bringing you to be slaughtered today for nothing? Don't listen to him. He's just a foolish old man. Don't let your valuable life and good looks be wasted.
Isaac turned to Abraham and said,
"Father, did you hear what that man just said to me? That's what he said."
Abraham replied,
"Watch out for him. Don't listen to his words or pay him any attention. That's Satan trying to lead us away today from obeying God's command."
Abraham rebuked Satan again, and Satan left. Realizing he couldn't stop them, he hid himself and went ahead of them on the road. Satan then transformed into a large brook that blocked the road. When Abraham, Isaac, and the 2 young men reached the spot, they saw a stream of water as wide and powerful as a river. They stepped into it, and the water came up to their legs. As they continued, it reached their necks, and they were all frightened. But Abraham recognized the area and realized there hadn't been any water there before. He said to Isaac,
"I know this place. There was no brook or water here. This is Satan again, trying to stop us from obeying God today."
Abraham said to Satan,
"The Lord rebuke you, Satan. Leave us. We are following the commands of God."
At the sound of Abraham's voice, Satan was terrified and fled. The place immediately returned to dry land, just as it had been before. Abraham continued on with Isaac to the place God had shown him. On the third day, Abraham looked up and saw the place in the distance that God had told him about. A pillar of fire stretched from the earth to the heavens, and a cloud of glory rested on the mountain. The glory of the Lord could be seen in the cloud. Abraham said to Isaac,
My son, do you see what I see on that mountain in the distance?
Isaac replied,
I see it, a pillar of fire, a cloud, and the glory of the Lord in the cloud.
Abraham knew then that Isaac was accepted by the Lord as a burnt offering. He turned to Eliezer and Ishmael and said,
Do you see what we see on that mountain?
They answered,
We see nothing but a mountain like any other.
Abraham knew then that they were not chosen to go any farther with him. They reached a well, and Abraham said to the young men,
Stay here with the donkey. The boy and I will go up there to worship, and then we'll return to you.
So Eliezer and Ishmael stayed behind as Abraham had instructed. Abraham took the wood for the burnt offering and placed it on his son Isaac. He carried the fire and the knife himself, and the two of them walked on together. Isaac spoke to his father Abraham, saying,
My father.
Abraham answered,
Here I am, my son.
Isaac said,
Look, we have the fire and the wood, but where is the lamb for the burnt offering?
Abraham replied,
My son, God will provide the lamb for the burnt offering.
So the two of them continued on together. Then Isaac said to his father,
I will do everything the Lord has told you with joy and a cheerful heart.
Abraham said to him again,
Is there anything in your heart, any thought or plan about this that's not right? Please tell me, my son. Don't hide it from me.
Isaac answered,
O my father, as the Lord lives and as your soul lives, there is nothing in my heart that would make me stray to the right or to the left from what God has told you. Not a limb or muscle in me has moved because of this, and there is no evil thought or plan in my heart. I am joyful and cheerful about it, and I say, Blessed is the Lord who has chosen me today to be a burnt offering before him.
Abraham was overjoyed at Isaac's words, and the two of them continued on and arrived at the place God had told them about. Abraham began building the altar, weeping as he did. Isaac gathered stones and mortar until they finished building the altar. They reached the place God had shown them. Abraham built the altar, arranged the wood, tied up his son Isaac, and laid him on top of the wood. Isaac said,
Bind me securely before you place me on the altar, so I don't move or jerk away when the knife touches me, which would ruin the offering.
Abraham did as Isaac asked. Then Isaac said,
Oh, my father, after you kill me and burn me as an offering, please take my ashes to my mother Sarah and tell her, This is the sweet-smelling offering of Isaac. But don't tell her if she's near a well or on a high place, or she might throw herself down and die.
When Abraham heard Isaac say this, he cried out loud and wept. His tears poured down onto Isaac, and Isaac cried bitterly too. Isaac said to his father,
Please hurry, my father, and carry out the will of the Lord our God just as he commanded you.
Both Abraham and Isaac felt joy in their hearts for obeying God's command. Even though their eyes were full of tears, Abraham bound Isaac and laid him on the altar on top of the wood. Isaac stretched out his neck before his father, and Abraham reached for the knife to offer his son as a burnt sacrifice to the Lord. At that moment, the angels of mercy came before the Lord and pleaded for Isaac, saying,
O Lord, you are merciful and compassionate over everything you have created in heaven and on earth. You support them all. Please provide a ransom and a substitute for your servant Isaac. Have pity and show compassion to Abraham and his son Isaac, who are obeying your command today. Lord, have you seen how Isaac, the son of your servant Abraham, is bound and ready to be slaughtered like an animal? Let your mercy be stirred on their behalf, O Lord.
Then the angel of the Lord stood in front of him, and in front of the prince Mastema. And the Lord said,
Stop him. Don't let him lay a hand on the boy or do anything to him, for now I know that he fears the Lord.
The angel of the Lord called to Abraham from heaven and said,
Abraham, Abraham.
Abraham was terrified and answered,
Here I am.
The angel said,
Do not lay a hand on the boy or do anything to him, Now I know that you fear God, because you have not withheld your son, your only son, from me.
The prince Mastema was humiliated. Abraham looked up and saw a ram caught by its horns in a thicket. This was the same ram that the Lord God had created on the day he made the earth and the heavens. God had prepared that ram long ago to be used as a burnt offering in place of Isaac. The ram had been approaching Abraham, but Satan grabbed it and tangled its horns in the thicket to prevent it from reaching him, hoping Abraham would go ahead and sacrifice his son. But Abraham saw the ram, and seeing that Satan was restraining it, he went over, freed it, brought it to the altar, untied Isaac, and placed the ram in his son's place. Abraham killed the ram on the altar and offered it instead of Isaac. Abraham sprinkled some of the ram's blood on the altar and said,
"This is in place of my son. May it be accepted this day before the Lord, as if it were the blood of my son."
Every part of the altar service Abraham performed that day, he said,
"This is in place of my son. May it be accepted before the Lord, as if it were my son."
Abraham completed the entire service at the altar, and it was accepted by the Lord as if Isaac had been offered. And the Lord blessed Abraham and his descendants that day. Abraham named that place Jehovah-Jireh, meaning the Lord has seen. And it is still said today, "On the mountain of the Lord it will be seen," referring to Mount Zion. The angel of the Lord called to Abraham from heaven a second time and said,
By myself I have sworn, says the Lord, because you have done this and have not withheld your son, your only son, I will surely bless you. I will multiply your descendants as the stars of the heavens and as the sand on the seashore. Your descendants will possess the gates of their enemies. Through your descendants, all the nations of the earth will be blessed because you obeyed my voice. I have shown everyone that you are faithful to me in all that I commanded you. Go in peace.
Meanwhile, Satan went to Sarah and appeared to her as a very humble and gentle old man. At that time, Abraham was still offering the burnt sacrifice before the Lord. Satan said to her,
"Do you know what Abraham has done today with your only son? He took Isaac, built an altar, killed him, and offered him up as a sacrifice. Isaac cried and wept before his father, but Abraham showed no pity and didn't look at him."
Satan kept repeating these words and then left. Sarah believed he was just an old man who had been with her son and had come to tell her what happened. She raised her voice, cried loudly, and fell to the ground, throwing dust on her head. She said,
"Oh, my son Isaac, my son, if only I had died today instead of you."
She kept weeping and said,
"It hurts me, my son Isaac, if only I had died in your place today."
Still weeping, she said,
"It hurts after raising you and bringing you up. Now my joy has turned into mourning. I longed for you and prayed for you until I gave birth to you at 90 years old. And now, this day, you've been given over to the knife and the fire as an offering. But I comfort myself that it was the Lord's command, and you fulfilled God's word. Who can disobey the command of our God, who holds every living soul in his hands? You are just, O Lord our God. Everything you do is good and right. I rejoice in your word, even as my eyes weep bitterly."
Sarah laid her head on a servant's chest and became still as a stone. Later she rose up and began searching. She went to Hebron, asking everyone she met on the road if they had seen her son, but no one could tell her what happened. She and her servants arrived in Kiriath Arba, which is Hebron, and she asked about her son. She stayed there and sent some of her servants to find out where Abraham and Isaac had gone. They looked for him in the house of Shem and Eber, but he wasn't there. They searched the whole land, but still couldn't find him. Then Satan returned to Sarah, again in the form of an old man, and stood before her, saying,
"I lied to you. Abraham didn't kill his son, and Isaac is still alive."
When Sarah heard that, her joy was so overwhelming that her soul left her, and she died and was gathered to her people. Abraham returned to his young men, and they all rose and went together to Beersheba. Abraham settled there by the well of the oath. He celebrated this event every year for 7 days with joy, and he called it the Festival of the Lord. It matched the 7 days during which he went and returned safely. This has been ordained and written on the heavenly tablets for Israel and its descendants to observe this 7-day festival with joy each year. Abraham searched for Sarah but couldn't find her. He asked around and was told,
"She went to Hebron looking for you and Isaac. Someone told her you went there."
So Abraham and Isaac went to Hebron. When they found that Sarah had died, they wept loudly and bitterly over her. Isaac threw himself on his mother's face and cried,
"Oh, my mother, why have you left me? Where have you gone? Oh, how have you left me?"
Abraham and Isaac cried deeply, and all their servants mourned with them. They grieved for Sarah with heavy sorrow. Abraham Saga, Proving Ark, Chapter 36. Burial. In the first year of the first week of the 42nd Jubilee, Abraham returned and settled opposite Hebron, which is Kirjath Arba, and lived there for 14 years. Sarah lived 127 years. These were the years of her life. She died in Kirjath Arba, that is Hebron in the land of Canaan, and Abraham came to mourn and weep for her. God tested Abraham to see if he would remain patient in spirit and not complain, and he passed the test. He was calm and did not speak out in frustration. With a patient heart, he spoke to the children of Heth to ask for a burial place for Sarah. Abraham stood up from beside his wife's body and spoke to the Hittites.
"I am a foreigner and a visitor among you. Please sell me a piece of land for a burial site, so I can bury my dead out of my sight."
The children of Heth replied,
"Listen to us, my lord. You are a mighty prince among us. Choose from the best of our burial sites to bury your dead. No one among us will refuse you his tomb."
Then Abraham stood and bowed to the people of the land, the children of Heth, and said,
"If you are willing for me to bury my dead here, then please intercede for me with Ephron, the son of Zohar, so that he will sell me the cave of Machpelah at the end of his field. I'll pay full price for it, as a permanent burial site among you."
Now Ephron was sitting among the Hittites, and he replied to Abraham in the hearing of all who had gathered at the city gate.
"No, my lord, listen. I give you the field and the cave in it. I give it to you publicly, in front of my people. Go and bury your dead."
But Abraham said,
"No, I insist on buying the field and the cave from you at full value, so it may be mine forever as a burial site."
Ephron answered,
"Look, the land is worth 400 shekels of silver, but what is that between us? Go ahead and bury your dead."
God gave Abraham favor in the eyes of all who witnessed this. Abraham agreed to Ephron's price and weighed out 400 shekels of silver, according to the current standard among merchants. Abraham documented the purchase, writing it down and confirming it with 4 witnesses. Their names were Amigal, son of Abishna the Hittite, Adichoram, son of Ashunach the Hivite, Abdon, son of Achiram the Gomerite, and Bachtel, son of Abudish the Zidonite. Even though they offered it to him for free, Abraham refused to accept the land without paying for it. He paid the full price, bowed before them twice, and then buried his wife in the double cave. Sarah lived 127 years, that is, 2 jubilees, 4 weeks, and 1 year. This was the 10th trial Abraham faced, and he was found faithful and patient. He said nothing about the promise God had made to give that land to him and his descendants. Instead, he humbly asked for a burial site. His faithfulness was recorded in the heavenly tablets, and he was called a friend of God. Abraham placed the deed of purchase in his treasury. This is what he wrote in it, that the cave and the field were purchased from Ephron the Hittite in Machpelah, near Mamre, that is, Hebron in the land of Canaan. It included all the trees in the field, and the right of purchase extended to his descendants and all those from his city and their descendants forever. It was established as a permanent burial site for Abraham and his descendants. He sealed it and had it witnessed. The field, the cave, and everything around it were officially made over to Abraham and his descendants by the children of Heth. This land lies before Mamre and Hebron, in the land of Canaan. Afterward, Abraham buried his wife Sarah there, and the whole area became the property of Abraham and his descendants as a burial site. He buried Sarah with great honor, as is done for kings. She was dressed in fine, beautiful garments. At her bier were Shem, his sons Eber and Abimelech, and also Anar, Ashkol, and Mamre. All the nobles of the land followed her procession. Sarah lived 127 years before she died. Abraham mourned deeply for her and observed 7 days of mourning. All the people of the land came to comfort Abraham and his son Isaac over the loss of Sarah. After the days of mourning ended, Abraham sent his son Isaac to the house of Shem and Eber to learn the ways and teachings of the Lord. Abraham stayed behind and remained there for 3 years. Lot, the son of Haran, died during this time, in the 39th year of Isaac's life. Lot lived 140 years and then died. Nahor, the son of Terah and brother of Abraham, also died in those days, in the 40th year of Isaac's life. Nahor lived 172 years and was buried in Haran. When Abraham heard that his brother had died, he mourned deeply and grieved for many days. At that time, Abraham got up with all his servants and returned home to Beersheba, where he and his household settled. Zobah, the son of Terah, was 30 years old when he became the father of Aram, Achlis, and Marek. Later, Ishmael and his family spread out. He took his children, all his possessions, his household, and everyone with him, and they moved away to settle wherever they could find a place. These are the 7 sons of Seir the Horite, who lived in the land and became dukes: Lotan, Shobal, Zibeon, Anah, Dishon, Ezer, and Dishan. These are the chiefs of the Horites, the descendants of Seir in the land of Edom. Abraham Saga, Family Arc, Chapter 37, Romance. Abraham was now old and well advanced in years, and the Lord had blessed him in every way. He called for Eliezer, his chief servant, who managed everything he owned, to give him instructions concerning his household. Eliezer came and stood before him. Abraham said,
Look, I am old and don't know the day of my death. Since I'm advanced in years, I ask you to place your hand under my thigh and swear by the Lord, the God of heaven and earth. Do not take a wife for my son from this place or from this land, from among the daughters of the Canaanites where we live. Instead, go to my homeland and to the place of my birth, and take a wife for my son from there. The Lord God of heaven and earth, who took me from my father's house and brought me here, and who said to me, to your descendants I will give this land as a lasting inheritance. He will send his angel ahead of you to make your journey successful, so that you may find a wife for my son, from my family and from my father's house.
The servant replied,
I'll go to your birthplace and to your father's house to find a wife for your son. But if the woman is unwilling to follow me back to this land, should I take your son there instead?
Abraham said,
Be very careful not to take my son back there. The Lord, before whom I walked faithfully, will send his angel ahead of you and make your way successful. But if the woman is unwilling to come back with you, you will be released from this oath. Just don't take my son there.
So Eliezer placed his hand under his master Abraham's thigh and swore to him about the matter. Eliezer took 10 of his master's camels, 10 of his master's servants, and set out, since he was entrusted with all of Abraham's wealth. He headed to Haran in Mesopotamia, to the city of Nahor, to find a wife for Isaac, the son of Abraham. While they were traveling, Abraham sent for Isaac from the house of Shem and Eber, and they brought Isaac back to his father's home in Beersheba. Meanwhile, Eliezer and his men continued on to Haran. When they arrived, he made the camels kneel down outside the city near a well of water in the evening, the time when women come out to draw water. Eliezer, Abraham's servant, prayed, saying,
O God of my master Abraham, please grant me success today, and show kindness to my master. I am standing here by the well, and the daughters of the townspeople are coming out to draw water. Let it be that the young woman to whom I say, Please lower your pitcher so I may drink, and who replies, Drink, and I'll also give water to your camels. Let her be the one you have chosen for your servant Isaac. Through this, I will know that you've shown kindness to my master.
Before he had finished speaking, Rebekah came out. She was born to Bethuel, the son of Milcah, who was the wife of Nahor, Abraham's brother. She had a pitcher on her shoulder. The young woman was very beautiful, a virgin whom no man had known. She was 10 years old. She went down to the well, filled her pitcher, and came back up. Eliezer ran to meet her and said,
Please let me drink a little water from your pitcher.
She replied,
Drink, my lord, and quickly lowered her pitcher to her hand and gave him a drink.
After giving him a drink, she said,
I'll draw water for your camels too until they've finished drinking.
She hurried, emptied her pitcher into the trough, and ran back to the well to draw more water. She continued until she had drawn water for all his camels. Meanwhile, Eliezer silently watched her, wondering if the Lord had made his journey successful. When the camels had finished drinking, Eliezer took a gold earring weighing half a shekel and 2 bracelets weighing 10 shekels of gold for her wrists. He asked,
Whose daughter are you? Please tell me. Is there room in your father's house for us to stay?
The Lord heard Eliezer's prayer for the sake of his master Abraham. Rebekah answered,
I am the daughter of Bethuel, son of Milcah, whom she bore to Nahor.
She added,
We have plenty of straw and feed and room for you to spend the night.
The man bowed his head and worshipped the Lord, saying,
Blessed be the Lord, the God of my master Abraham, who has not failed to show kindness and truth to my master. Being on this journey, the Lord has led me straight to the house of my master's relatives.
The young woman ran and told her mother's household everything that had happened. Rebekah had a brother named Laban, and he ran out to the man at the well. When he saw the earring and the bracelets on his sister's hands and heard the words of Rebekah his sister saying,
This is what the man said to me.
Laban went to the man and found him standing by the camels at the well. He said,
Come in, you who are blessed by the Lord. Why are you standing outside? I prepared the house and made room for the camels.
So the man came into the house. He unloaded the camels and provided straw and feed for them, and water to wash his feet and the feet of the men who were with him. They set food before him to eat, but he said,
I won't eat until I've shared my mission.
They said,
Speak on.
He said,
I'm Abraham's servant. The Lord has greatly blessed my master, and he has become wealthy. He's given him flocks, herds, silver, gold, male and female servants, camels and donkeys. Sarah, my master's wife, gave him a son in her old age, and my master has given everything he owns to that son. My master made me swear an oath, saying, You must not take a wife for my son from the daughters of the Canaanites, in whose land I live. Instead, go to my father's house and to my relatives, and take a wife for my son. I asked my master, What if the woman won't come back with me? He said to me, The Lord, before whom I have walked, will send his angel with you and make your journey successful. You will take a wife for my son from my family and my father's house. Then you'll be released from my oath if you go to my family and they won't give her to you. You'll be free from your oath. Today I came to the well and prayed, Lord, God of my master Abraham, if you will now make my journey successful, here I am standing by the well. Let it happen that when a young woman comes to draw water, and I say to her, Please let me drink a little water from your jar, and she says to me, Drink, and I'll draw water for your camels too. Let her be the one the Lord has chosen for my master's son. Before I had even finished praying in my heart, Rebekah came out with her pitcher on her shoulder. She went down to the well and drew water. I said to her, Please let me drink. She quickly lowered her pitcher and said, Drink, and I'll give your camels water too. So I drank, and she watered the camels as well. Then I asked her, Whose daughter are you? She replied, I am the daughter of Bethuel, the son of Nahor, whom Milcah bore to him. I put the earring on her nose and the bracelets on her wrists. Then I bowed down, worshipped the Lord, and praised the Lord, the God of my master Abraham, who had led me in the right way to take the daughter of my master's brother for his son. Now if you're going to show kindness and truth to my master, tell me. But if not, tell me, so I'll know whether to turn to the right or the left.
Then Laban and Bethuel answered,
This matter comes from the Lord. We can't say anything to you, good or bad.
They all blessed the Lord who had brought this about and said,
Here is Rebekah before you. Take her and go. Let her be the wife of your master's son, as the Lord has spoken.
They gave Rebekah, the daughter of Bethuel, to be Isaac's wife. When Abraham's servant heard their words, he bowed to the ground and worshipped the Lord. Then he brought out silver jewelry, gold jewelry, and clothing, and gave them to Rebekah. He also gave valuable gifts to her brother and her mother. That night, Bethuel, Laban, and their household prepared a feast. Eleazar and his men ate, drank, and celebrated there. The next morning they got up, and Eleazar said,
"Send me back to my master."
Rebekah's brother and mother replied,
"Let the young woman stay with us a few days, at least 10. After that, she can go."
But he said,
"Don't delay me, since the Lord has made my journey successful. Send me off so I can return to my master."
They said,
"Let's call the young woman and ask her directly."
They called Rebekah and asked,
"Will you go with this man?"
She said,
I will go.
So they sent away their sister Rebekah, along with her nurse Deborah, the daughter of Uz, Abraham's servant, and his men. They blessed Rebekah and said to her,
"You are our sister. May you become the mother of thousands upon thousands. May your descendants possess the gates of those who hate them."
Then Rebekah and her maidservants mounted the camels and followed the man. The servant took Rebekah and set off on his way. Isaac had come from the direction of the well Lahairoi, for he lived in the southern region. One evening he went out into the field to meditate. As he looked up, he saw camels coming. Rebekah also looked up and saw Isaac, and she got down from her camel. She asked the servant,
Who is that man walking in the field to meet us?
The servant replied,
"That's my master."
So she took her veil and covered herself. Then the servant told Isaac everything that had happened. In the 4th year of that time, Abraham arranged for his son Isaac to marry Rebekah, the daughter of Bethuel, son of Nahor, Abraham's brother, sister of Laban, and daughter of Milcah, who had been Nahor's wife. Isaac brought Rebekah into his mother Sarah's tent, took her as his wife, and loved her. Isaac was comforted after his mother's death. Isaac was 40 years old when he married Rebekah, the daughter of his uncle Bethuel, a Syrian from Paddan Aram, and sister to Laban the Syrian. At that time, Rebekah was barren. She had no children. Isaac lived with his father in the land of Canaan, and the Lord was with him. Abraham Saga, Family Arc, Chapter 38, Branches. Abraham took a third wife named Keturah. She was from among the daughters of his household servants and came from the land of Canaan. This happened after Hagar had died, and Sarah had already passed away. That same year, around the turn of the year, Abimelech, king of the Philistines, died at the age of 193. Abraham traveled with his people to the land of the Philistines to offer comfort to Abimelech's household and his servants. Afterward, Abraham returned home. After Abimelech died, the people of Gerar took his son Ben-Malach, who was only 12 years old, and made him king in his father's place. They called him Abimelech, just like his father, as it was their custom in Gerar to name the new king after the former one. And so the new Abimelech reigned in his father's place and sat on his throne. Over a span of 14 years, Keturah gave birth to 6 sons for Abraham: Zimram, Jokshan, Madon, Midian, Ishbak, and Shua. Mishma, son of Ishmael, had sons named Shammua, Zechariah, and Obed. Duma's sons were Kezid, Eli, Mahmad, and Amed. Masa's sons were Melon, Mula, and Abidadon. Shadad's sons were Azur, Minzar, and Ebedmelech. Tama's sons were Ser, Sidon, and Yakol. Yatur's sons were Merith, Yaish, Alio, and Pachoth. Naphish's sons were Ebed, Tamed, Abiasaph, and Mir. Kedma's sons were Caleb, Tahti, and Omir. These were the children of Malkuth, Ishmael's wife, and they were organized by their families. All these are the family lines of Ishmael's descendants, and they settled in the lands where they built their cities, where they remained to this day. In those days, Arphaxad, son of Shem and grandson of Noah, died. He lived for 438 years. He had fathered Salah and other sons and daughters. He died in the 48th year of Isaac's life, having lived 403 years after the birth of Salah. Zimran's children were Abihan, Molish, and Naram. Jokshan's sons were Sheba and Dedan. Midian's sons were Amida, Joab, Gochi, Elisha, and Nothach. Midian's sons were Ephah, Epher, Hanok, also called Chanok, Abida, and Eldaah. Ishbak's sons were Makiro, Beodua, and Tator. Shua's sons were Bildad, Mamdad, Munan, and Maban. These were the family lines of the children of Keturah, the Canaanite woman who bore them to Abraham the Hebrew. In the 59th year of Isaac's life, his wife Rebekah was still barren. She said to Isaac,
I have heard, my lord, that your mother Sarah was also barren until your father Abraham prayed for her, and then she conceived. So please, get up and pray to God. He will hear you and remember us through his mercy.
Isaac replied,
Abraham already prayed to God on my behalf, so that his descendants would multiply. So this barrenness must be coming from your side.
But Rebekah insisted,
Still, stand up and pray that the Lord may hear your prayer and give me children.
Isaac listened to her, and the two of them went to the land of Moriah to seek the Lord. When they arrived, Isaac stood and prayed to the Lord because of Rebekah's barrenness. He said,
O Lord God of heaven and earth, whose goodness and mercy fill the earth, you took my father from his father's house and from his homeland and brought him to this land. You promised him, to your descendants I will give this land, and declared to him, I will multiply your offspring like the stars of heaven and the sand of the sea. Now, let your words to my father be fulfilled. For you are our God, and our eyes look to you to give us children just as you promised.
The Lord heard Isaac's prayer and was moved by it, and Rebekah conceived. About 7 months into the pregnancy, the children inside Rebekah struggled with each other, causing her great pain and exhaustion. She asked the other women in the land,
Has anything like this ever happened to you?
They answered. So she said,
Why is this happening only to me out of all the women on earth?
She traveled to the land of Moriah to seek the Lord, and also went to Shem and his son Eber to ask them about the matter, and to have them pray to the Lord on her behalf. She even asked Abraham to inquire of the Lord about what was happening to her. They all prayed to the Lord about it, and came back with a message for her. They said,
You are carrying 2 children, and 2 nations will come from them. One nation will be stronger than the other, and the older will serve the younger.
In the 6th week of the 2nd year, Rebekah gave birth to twins, just as the Lord had told her. The first child came out red and covered in hair like a garment, and the people named him Esau, saying,
This one was fully formed in the womb.
After him came his brother, who was holding Esau's heel, so they named him Jacob. Isaac was 60 years old when his sons were born. Aram, son of Zobah and grandson of Terah, had 3 wives and fathered 12 sons and 3 daughters. The Lord blessed him with wealth, livestock, and large herds, and Aram prospered greatly. He, his brother, and their households left Haran to settle elsewhere, since their property was too great for them to remain in Haran alongside the children of Nahor. They traveled east and found a valley to settle in. There they built a city and named it Aram, after their eldest brother. That place is still called Aram Zobah today. In the 42nd Jubilee, during the 1st year of the 7th week, Abraham gathered Ishmael and his 12 sons, Isaac and his 2 sons, and the 6 sons of Keturah and their sons. He instructed them all to follow the ways of the Lord, to do what is right, love their neighbors, and treat everyone justly. He urged them to circumcise their sons as God had commanded, and not to stray from God's path. He warned them to avoid sexual immorality and impurity, saying that if a woman or maid among them committed fornication, she should be burned. He forbade them from marrying Canaanite women, because the descendants of Canaan would be removed from the land. Abraham reminded them of the judgment of the giants and the people of Sodom, how they were punished and died because of their immorality and corruption. He said,
Guard yourselves from all sexual immorality and sin, or you will turn our name into a curse and bring destruction on your families. Don't become like Sodom and Gomorrah. Love the God of heaven, keep his commandments, and stay away from idols. Don't make or worship carved or molten images. They are worthless, made by human hands and have no spirit in them. Serve only the Most High God. Worship him always and hope in him. If you do, he will take pleasure in you, show you mercy, send rain on your land morning and evening, bless your crops, your food, your children, your herds, and your flocks. You will be a blessing on the earth, and all nations will desire you and bless your children in my name, just as I am blessed.
Abraham gave gifts to all his other children and sent them away from Isaac to live wherever they could find a place. They traveled east to the mountains and built 6 cities, where they live to this day. They settled near the wilderness of Paran, from Havilah to Shur, which is along the route to Babylon and borders the desert that lies before Egypt as you approach Assyria. Ishmael and his sons lived in this land. They had children, grew in number, and prospered. They intermarried and became known as Arabs and Ishmaelites. Isaac and his household lived with his father Abraham in the land of Canaan, just as God had commanded. Abraham gave everything he owned to Isaac, including all his treasures. The sons of Dedan were Asherim, Ladishim, and Leomim. Abraham Saga, Family Arc, Chapter 39, Blessings. The boys grew up, and by the time they were 15, they joined the community of men. Esau became a cunning and deceitful man, a skilled hunter in the fields. Jacob, on the other hand, was a gentle man, honest and wise, living in tents, tending flocks, and learning the teachings of the Lord and the instructions of his father and mother. As they matured, Jacob learned to write, but Esau did not. Esau was a man of the outdoors, a hunter trained in warfare, and his ways were harsh. Abraham loved Jacob, while Isaac loved Esau. Abraham saw Esau's actions and understood that Jacob was the one through whom his name and descendants would continue. So he called Rebekah and gave her instructions concerning Jacob, knowing that she loved Jacob far more than Esau. He said to her,
"My daughter, watch over my son Jacob. He will take my place on the earth, and he will be a blessing among the children of men, bringing glory to all the descendants of Shem. I know the Lord will choose him to be his special people, more than any other on earth. Isaac, my son, loves Esau more than Jacob, but I know that you truly love Jacob. Keep showing him kindness, and let your eyes always look on him with love. He will be a blessing for us on the earth from now on, through all future generations. Be strong, and let your heart be glad in your son Jacob. I've loved him more than all my other sons. He will be blessed forever, and his descendants will fill the whole earth. If anyone could count the grains of sand on the earth, then his descendants could be counted too. All the blessings that the Lord has given me and my offspring will belong to Jacob and his descendants forever. In his line my name will be honored, and the names of my fathers, Shem, Noah, Enoch, Mahalalel, Enos, Seth, and Adam. Through him the foundations of heaven will be laid, the earth will be upheld, and all the lights in the sky will be renewed."
Abraham called Jacob in front of Rebekah, his mother, kissed him, and gave him a blessing.
"Jacob, my beloved son, the one my soul loves, may God bless you from above the heavens. May he give you all the blessings he gave to Adam, Enoch, Noah, and Shem. May every promise he made to me be fulfilled through you and your descendants forever, as long as the heavens are above the earth. May the spirits of Masteman never rule over you or your offspring to turn you away from the Lord your God from now and forever. May the Lord God be a father to you, and you be his firstborn son and the firstborn of the people. Go in peace, my son."
Then Jacob and Rebekah both left Abraham together. Rebekah loved Jacob with all her heart and soul, much more than she loved Esau. But Isaac loved Esau more than Jacob because he enjoyed the wild game Esau brought him. In the 6th year of the 7th week of this Jubilee, Abraham called his son Isaac and said,
"I've grown old and don't know when I will die. I'm full of days."
Then he told him,
"Do you not know that the Lord is God in both heaven and earth, and there is no other? He brought me out of my father's house and my birthplace, and gave me all the good things I have. He saved me from the schemes of the wicked, because I trusted him. He brought me here, delivering me from Ur the Chaldees, and he said, I will give all this land to your descendants, and they will inherit it if they obey my commands, statutes, and judgments that I have given you, and will give them. Now, my son, listen to my voice, and obey the commands of the Lord your God that I gave you. Do not turn aside from the right path, not to the right or to the left, so that you and your children will prosper forever. Remember the amazing things the Lord has done for us, how kind he has been to deliver us from our enemies and to put them in our hands. So now, keep everything I've commanded you. Do not turn away from the Lord's instructions, and serve no one but him, so that it will go well with you and your descendants. Teach your children and your descendants the ways of the Lord and his commandment. Show them the right path to walk in, so that they will be blessed forever. I am now 175 years old. All my life
I have remembered the Lord, and have tried with all my heart to do his will and walk faithfully in his ways. I've hated idols and those who worship them. I've devoted myself completely to obeying the one who created me. He is the living God, holy, faithful, and perfectly righteous. He does not show favoritism or accept bribes. God judges everyone who breaks his commandments and rejects his covenant. So, my son, follow his commands, laws, and judgment. Don't imitate the disgusting ways of idol worshippers, or follow after carved or molten images. Never eat blood, not from animals, cattle, or birds. If you offer a peace offering, drain its blood on the altar. Burn all the fat of the offering with fine flour, and the grain offering mixed with oil, and the drink offering. Present them all together on the altar. It will be a sweet smell before the Lord. Burn the fat from the thank offerings, the fat from the belly, the inner organs, the 2 kidneys, the fat on them, the loins and the liver. Remove them with the kidneys and offer them with the grain and drink offerings. It's a sweet aroma, the bread of the offering to the Lord. Eat the meat that day and on the second day, but by sunset on the second day it must all be eaten. Do not leave any until the 3rd day. It will not be accepted, and whoever eats it will bear guilt. That's what I found written in the books of my ancestors, in the writings of Enoch and Noah.
Sprinkle salt on all your offerings. Never let the salt of the covenant be missing from your offerings before the Lord.
Be careful about the wood you use for the altar fire. Only use tested woods like cypress, bay, almond, fir, pine, cedar, savin, fig, olive, myrrh, laurel, or aspalathus. Use only hard, clean wood, without defects, no split or dark wood. Don't use old wood, because it's lost its fragrance and won't rise as a pleasing aroma to heaven. Only use the approved kinds. Follow this command, my son, so that your actions will be pure. Always be clean. Wash yourself with water before approaching the altar. Wash your hands and feet before and after offering sacrifices. Make sure no blood is on you or your clothes. Be especially careful with blood. Cover it with dust. Don't eat any blood, because blood is life. Never accept gifts to overlook the shedding of human blood, unless it happened without guilt or judgment. Bloodshed pollutes the earth, and the only way to cleanse it is by shedding the blood of the one who caused it. Never accept bribes for blood, blood for blood, so you'll be righteous before the Lord, the Most High, who defends the good and protects you from all harm and all kinds of death. My son, I see that the works of mankind are full of sin, wickedness, filth, and corruption. There is no righteousness in them. Be careful not to follow their ways, or you'll sin fatally against the Most High, and he will turn his face from you. He will hand you over to your sins, uproot you from the land, and erase you and your descendants from under heaven. Your name and seed will be wiped from the earth. So turn away from all their evil deeds. Obey the laws of the Most High. Do his will, and be righteous in everything you do. He will bless you in all you do, and raise up a righteous line from you that will last through all generations of the earth. My name and your name will never be forgotten under heaven. Go in peace, my son. May the Most High God, my God and your God, give you strength to do his will. May he bless your descendants and the rest of your line forever with every righteous blessing, so that you may be a blessing throughout the whole earth.
Isaac answered his father,
I will do everything you've commanded. I won't turn away from the Lord's instructions. I'll keep all that he's commanded me.
And Abraham blessed Isaac and his children. Abraham also taught Jacob the ways and commandments of the Lord. Then Isaac left Abraham, filled with joy. In the first week of the 44th Jubilee, in the 2nd year, the year Abraham died, Isaac and Ishmael came from the well of the oath to celebrate the Feast of Weeks, also known as the Feast of the First Fruits of the Harvest, with their father Abraham. Abraham was happy that his 2 sons had come. Isaac owned many possessions in Beersheba, and he had no need to travel there or check on them before returning to his father. At that time, Ishmael also came to see Abraham, and the two brothers arrived together. Isaac offered a burnt offering on the altar Abraham had built in Hebron. He also gave a thank offering and hosted a joyful feast before Ishmael. Rebekah baked new cakes from the fresh grain and gave them to Jacob to take to Abraham from the first fruits of the land, so that Abraham could eat and bless the Creator of all things before he died. Isaac also sent a special thank offering to Abraham through Jacob, so that he could eat and drink. He ate and drank and blessed the Most High God, the Creator of heaven and earth, who made all the good things of the earth and gave them to humanity so they might eat, drink, and bless their Creator.
And now I thank you, my God, because you've allowed me to see this day. Look, I'm 175 years old, an old man full of years, and my days have been peaceful. The sword of the enemy has never overcome me in anything you've given to me and my children throughout my life up to this day. My God, may your mercy and peace rest upon your servant and on the descendants of his sons, so that they may be your chosen nation, a people belonging to you among all nations of the earth, from now on, for all generations, for all ages.
Then he called Jacob and said,
My son Jacob, may the God of all bless you and give you strength to live righteously and do his will. May he choose you and your descendants, so that you become his people and his inheritance, according to his will forever. Come here, my son Jacob, and kiss me.
Jacob came near and kissed him, and Abraham said,
Blessed be my son Jacob, and blessed be all the sons of God Most High forever. May God give you children who live righteously. May he set some of your descendants apart across the whole earth. May nations serve you, and may all people bow down before your children. Be strong among men, and rule over all the descendants of Seth. Then your ways and your children's ways will be just, and they will become a holy nation. May the Most High God give you every blessing he gave me, and that he gave to Noah and Adam. May these blessings rest on the sacred head of your descendants, from generation to generation, forever. May he cleanse you from all unrighteousness and impurity, so that you are forgiven for any sins you committed unknowingly. May he strengthen and bless you. May you inherit the whole earth, and may he renew his covenant with you, making you his people forever, and he will be your God and the God of your descendants in truth and righteousness for all your days on earth. And you, my son Jacob, remember my words and follow the commandments of Abraham your father. Separate yourself from the nations. Don't eat with them. Don't do what they do, and don't associate with them, because their actions are unclean. All their ways are corrupt, detestable, and filthy. They sacrifice to the dead. They worship evil spirits, and they eat near graves. Everything they do is meaningless and worthless. They don't understand, and their eyes are blind to their own wrongdoing. They make mistakes and say to a piece of wood, You are my God, and to a stone, You are my Lord and Deliverer. But they have no understanding. But you, my son Jacob, may the Most High God help you, and may the God of heaven bless you. May he keep you away from their filth and from all their errors. Be careful, my son Jacob, not to take a wife from the daughters of Canaan, because all of Canaan's descendants are going to be wiped off the earth. Because of Ham's sin, Canaan went astray, and all his children will be destroyed. None of them will survive the day of judgment.
As for idol worshippers and the ungodly, they have no hope of life, and they will not be remembered on earth. They will descend into Sheol, into the place of punishment, just like the people of Sodom were removed from the earth. All those who worship idols will be removed as well. Don't be afraid, my son Jacob, and don't be discouraged, son of Abraham. May the Most High God protect you from destruction and save you from all paths of error. This house I've built for myself, to place my name upon in the earth. It's given to you and to your descendants forever. It will be called the house of Abraham. It belongs to you and your children for all time. You will build my house and keep my name before God forever. Your descendants and your name will continue throughout all generations of the earth.
Then he stopped speaking and blessing him. The two of them lay together in the same bed, and Jacob slept in the arms of his grandfather Abraham. Abraham kissed him 7 times, and his heart was full of love and joy for him. He blessed him with all his heart and said,
The Most High God, the God and Creator of all, who brought me out of Ur of the Chaldees to give me this land as an inheritance forever, and to establish a holy people, blessed be the Most High forever.
He then blessed Jacob and said,
My son, you fill my heart with joy and love. May your grace and mercy always be upon him and his descendants. Do not abandon him or consider him worthless from now to eternity. Keep your eyes open to him and his children. Preserve them, bless them, and set them apart as a people for your inheritance. Bless them with all your blessings from now on through all eternity. Renew your covenant and your grace with him and his descendants according to your goodwill for all the generations of the earth.
He lived for 3 jubilees and 4 weeks of years, 175 years, and finished out his life, old and full of days. He placed 2 of Jacob's fingers over his eyes, blessed the God of gods, covered his face, stretched out his feet, and passed away, joining his ancestors. But Jacob, who was still lying in his grandfather's arms, didn't realize Abraham had died. When Jacob woke up, he saw that Abraham was cold as ice and said,
Father, father.
But there was no reply. Then he knew Abraham was dead. He got up and ran to tell his mother Rebekah, and she went at night to tell Isaac. They both went together with Jacob, who carried a lamp. When they entered the room, they found Abraham lying there dead. Isaac fell on his father's face, wept, and kissed him. The sound of mourning filled Abraham's house. Ishmael, his son, also came and wept over his father, along with everyone in Abraham's household. They all mourned him with deep sorrow. Then Abraham died at a good old age, full of years. He passed away in the 15th year of Jacob and Esau's lives. His sons Isaac and Ishmael buried him in the cave of Machpelah, in the field of Ephron, son of Zohar the Hittite, near Mamre, the same field Abraham bought from the sons of Heth. Abraham was buried there alongside Sarah, his wife. They mourned him for 40 days. When the people of Canaan heard that Abraham had died, they all came, kings, princes, and all their men, to bury him. The people of Haran and all the families of Abraham's household came too, along with nobles, leaders, and the children of Abraham's concubines. When they heard of his death, they came to honor Abraham's kindness, comfort Isaac, and bury him in the cave he bought from Ephron the Hittite for a burial place. Everyone who knew Abraham, all the people of Canaan, mourned him for a full year. Men and women grieved for him. Even little children cried, because Abraham had been good to them all. He had lived righteously before God and people. No one feared God like Abraham. He had feared the Lord from his youth and served him faithfully throughout his life. The Lord was with him, delivering him from Nimrod and his people. He defeated the 4 kings of Elam in battle. He brought people from all over the world to worship God. He taught them the Lord's ways and helped them know God. He planted a grove and a vineyard, and he always had food and drink ready in his tent for travelers, so they could be satisfied in his home. The Lord God preserved the whole earth because of Abraham. In the early generations, people lived 19 jubilees. But after the flood, lifespans began to decrease. They started aging faster and dying earlier, suffering more because of the evil in their ways, except for Abraham. Abraham was perfect in all his actions with the Lord and lived righteously all his life. Still, he didn't even live 4 Jubilees, because wickedness had grown so great that it cut lives short, and he was full of his days. All future generations, from that time to the great judgment, will grow old quickly. They won't even live 2 Jubilees before their minds begin to fade due to age, and all their understanding will disappear. In those days, if a man lives 112 Jubilees, people will say, he lived a long time, even though most of his life was filled with pain, sorrow, and trouble. Peace will be hard to find. Disaster will follow disaster, wound after wound, trouble on top of trouble, bad news upon bad news, sickness after sickness. Evil judgments will stack up: disease, destruction, snow, frost, ice, fevers, chills, numbness, hunger, death, violence, captivity, every kind of suffering and hardship. All these things will fall on a wicked generation. Their actions are filthy: sexual immorality, corruption, and detestable practices. Then people will say, our ancestors lived long lives, even 1,000 years, and had good days. But today, even if someone lives to 70 or 80, it's full of evil, and there's no peace in this generation. In that generation, sons will accuse their fathers and elders of sin, wickedness, and corrupt speech. They'll point out how their ancestors broke the covenant the Lord made with them, the covenant that required them to obey His laws and commands without turning aside. Everyone will be doing wrong. Every mouth will speak evil. All their actions will be filthy and detestable, and their ways will lead to ruin. The earth will be destroyed because of all this. There will be no grapes or oil because their deeds are completely unfaithful. Everything will die: animals, livestock, birds, and fish, because of humanity's sins. People will fight each other: the young against the old, the poor against the rich, the weak against the powerful. All of it will be over the law and the covenant, because they've forgotten everything: commandments, covenants, festivals, months, Sabbaths, jubilees, and judgments. They will take up weapons to try to restore order, but they won't succeed until much blood is spilled. Even then, those who survive won't return to righteousness. Instead, they'll chase after lies and wealth, taking what belongs to others. They'll misuse God's great name, using it falsely and without righteousness. They'll defile the holiest things with their corruption and filth. Because of all this, the Lord will bring harsh punishment on their deeds. He will hand them over to violence, judgment, captivity, looting, and destruction. He'll stir up sinful Gentiles against them, people without mercy or compassion, who respect no one, old or young. These people will be more evil and powerful than all others. They will harm Israel and attack Jacob. Much blood will be spilled, and no one will be there to gather the dead or bury them. People will cry out, pray, and beg for salvation from the Gentiles, but no one will be saved. Children's hair will turn white with age, and a 21-year-old will look like he's 100. Suffering and oppression will destroy their strength. But in those days, children will begin to learn the laws again, to seek out the commandments and return to the path of righteousness. Then lifespans will start to increase again until they approach 1,000 years, even more than before. There will be no elderly who are unsatisfied with their lives, because everyone will be like children and young people. They will complete their days in peace and joy. There will be no Satan or evil destroyer, only days filled with blessing and healing. At that time, the Lord will heal His servants. They will rise up, see peace, and defeat their enemies. The righteous will rejoice forever, giving thanks as they witness judgment fall on their enemies. Their bones will rest in the earth, but their spirits will overflow with joy. They will know it was the Lord who judged and showed mercy to 100s, 1,000s, and all who love Him.